Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to the ultimate Cleveland sports show. Earl the Pearl and Tyvis here with me today. What's up, guys?
What's up, man? How you feel?
I feel great.
Ready
to go.
You know what yesterday I was sitting at the house and I had Bleacher Report. I get notifications from Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
And the NFL is about to they're trying to do away with the hip drop tackle. So it's funny. I get the notification. I look at it. Literally 5 minutes later, my phone rings. It's Richard Kevin Sherman, and he calls and said, "Yeah, I gotta." Yeah, he says, Tyvis. He says Chansey. That's what he calls it. Chansey. He says,
"Whoa, you can't just blow over that." Where's Chansey?
That's my middle name.
Oh, I figured
because you used to jump routes and try to get interceptions all the time.
So why did he start calling you Chansey?
I don't know why he calls.
Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I don't care for the name.
So why'd you tell him to stop?
If I tell
just encourage him to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I tell him I don't like it, he's really going to do it. So I just
let
them have his moment. Anyways, he was like, listen, how are we supposed to be as defenders? How are we going to make these tackles? And I'm like, sure, I don't understand the hip drop tackle. As a DB, if I got to tackle a 255-pound tight end, of course I'm going to drop my weight. Yes. What do you want? They should just put the flags on him because they wanted to be an offensive game anyway.
What does he care at this point? He's not
That's
playing.
what I said. I said, Sherm, you and I are retired, so it really don't make us no never mind. But it's not fair. It's not fair because every year they do something to help the offense and less the defense, and it's ridiculous.
I don't know if it's about helping the offense. I think it's more about preventing injuries. You think that's just an excuse?
Bull, we can't even cut tackles no more. Pulling guards, we used to be able to cut them. You can't even do that. You gotta just stand there and get blasted now.
Yeah, fans want the offense. All right, we got a lot to get to today. Coming up later, we'll talk about the Cavs' loss to the Heat. We'll talk about some interesting comments from Tyrese Halliburton. A completely out of left field topic on the Guardians that Mike came up with. Where did you come up with this topic? Where did this come from?
I'm just trying to find Guardian stuff and.
That was so out of left field. I meant to ask you that.
But it's a decent topic. I think we'll have some fun with it.
And obviously plenty to talk about in just a minute about the Browns signing of D'Onta Foreman and what that means or what it might mean for Nick Chubb. That's coming up in a minute. But first, right before the show, for whatever reason, I started looking up the Browns drafts under Andrew Berry. I don't know why I was doing that. I can't remember what spurred that on. But I started reading, and then we went back, of course.
Oh, my God.
And listen, Andrew Berry's drafts have been up and down. I would say overall,
C
it's been
plus,
a C.
something like that.
Some have been better than others.
But
you look at the draft before that. Now, John Dorsey had a good draft because he got Nick Chubb 1 year and they took Baker, but there was somebody else they got that year.
Denzel.
And Denzel, right. But you look at the drafts before that. I mean, it's just one crap.
I wonder how we miscalculated so much. That 15 or 16 draft you said.
Some of those first round picks. You think back for Corey Coleman, Justin Gill. I know people don't want to hear this again.
I was drinking the Kool-Aid on Corey Coleman.
Oh my God!
Look, I was like, man, he's gonna be the next wide receiver to come out of Baylor like Josh Gordon.
Oh my God!
I said the Browns got him one.
It's Markevius Mingo, Danny Shelton, Cam Irving. Justin Gilbert.
I had never heard of
sucked.
Markevius Mingo. When they picked him, I remember I was like, "Who is that?"
Yeah, no idea.
I think a lot of people.
That was a bad. In fairness to the Browns, if I remember correctly, I think that was a pretty bad draft, and all the guys taken after him were bad. I got to double check that. I think they got. I give them a little bit of a pass for that one, but I mean, man, there was some. Most of the guys the Browns drafted in those years are not even in the NFL, let alone on the Browns.
Oh my God!
I got to go. Let's go back real quick before we move on to the Markevius Mingo draft. That was 2013. All right, so he was
That's Joe Banner?
Wasn't he 7th overall?
I think it was still Joe Banner then, yeah. Mingo was 6th overall.
What?
Yeah.
But
who was after? Can you name me some players that
Okay, here's the top. This is as bad a top 10 as I can ever remember.
Okay.
First overall pick in the draft, Kansas City, Eric Fisher. He stunk. By the way, there's only one player in the top 18 picks that are still playing. Now, it is 11 years ago, but still. Top 10, Luke Jokel, another offensive lineman, went second.
He went to the
bad.
Jaguars.
Yes. Third pick, Dolphins, Deion Jordan, defensive end. Remember him?
Out of Oregon.
He wasn't any good. The best player in the top 10 was the fourth pick by the Eagles, Lane Johnson, who's been a great tackle.
Yep.
Fifth, Ezekiel Ansah. Remember him?
He went to the Lions, yeah.
Ziggy.
Sixth, Barkevius Mingo. Seventh, Jonathan Cooper, who was a guard. He wasn't very good. Eighth pick, the number one wide receiver off the board, Tavon Alston. He was nothing.
Wow.
He's a good, return guy.
West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Great
Yes.
highlight tape.
I'm about to
All
say, he
time
got one of the
college
best highlight
tape.
tapes of all time. Man.
Ninth
do.
pick, D. Milner, defensive back for the Jets.
Jets, yeah.
And then Chance Warmack, another offensive lineman, went 10th.
Ew.
Yeah,
The
that's
only-
Disgusting top 10.
The only active players
Geno Smith.
from the first round of that draft, Lane Johnson went 4, Justin Pugh, an offensive lineman for the Giants, went 19, DeAndre Hopkins went 27, and Cordero Patterson went 29.
We passed up on
Geno
DeAndre
Smith
Hopkins.
was the first quarterback off the board, second round to the Jets at 39. Who did the Bengals take that year? Tyler Eifert. Decent player, but he was always hurt.
He was a good tight end.
Yeah, but he could never stay healthy.
He definitely when he played, he was effective.
Yeah. They took Gio Bernard, who was one of my favorites.
He was a good running
back in the
back.
day.
Good running back.
He was good change of pace back. All right, Mike. Let's go. What do you got?
What's up, Bull? We're going to talk gambling in a little bit, and we are fully aware that our main sponsor is a gambling sportsbook. So when we talk about that and we have that conversation, do not let it be known, or do not let it be unknown that we are not aware
Sure.
of our current situation.
Yes.
So let's start today's show with a quick word from FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the NCAA tournament, which officially begins today just after noon. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a one seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's gonna win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and bet on college hoops until they cut the nets down. And let's give a shout out to SoLife for a big parlay win on the Cavs Heat game last night. SoLive turned $10 into nearly $1,200 on this same game parlay. A bunch of over-under alternate spreads on points, rebounds, three-pointers made. So shout out to SoLive for that parlay win. If you have a winning ticket, make sure you send it in to us on Twitter, and we will feature it on the show in the coming days.
By the way, real quick, I was looking a little further at that draft with Mingo. The third round that year was where it's at. Here's some of the guys that went in the third round real quick. First pick of the third round, Travis Kelce.
Damn.
62 players went before Travis Kelce. 69, Honey Badger. Didn't he drop because of like drugs or something?
Marijuana
Yo,
or
I'm about
something
to
like
be
that.
triggered because I think we took like Chris Crocker.
Browns took Leon McFadden.
Leon McFadden,
One pick
one pick before him, yeah.
Before Matthew.
Ain't no damn sense.
Teron Armstead, great tackle for the Saints, went 75. Keenan Allen went 76.
Wow.
That's a shame.
Wow.
I mean, there were some really good players
A
in the
lot
third
of
round.
third-round gems.
Yep. Well, somebody that wasn't drafted that year but has just been signed by the Browns, that's D'Onta Foreman, guys. D'Onta Foreman's like 6 foot 230. He is big for a running back. First of all, before we get into what it means for the team, Earl, what do you think about the signing?
I like the signing. I think you get a veteran running back that fits that short yardage goal line mode. Dude ran for like 425 yards last year. He got 17 career total touchdowns. I think he's somebody that will step in and immediately compete to be the Browns' #2 running back, and somebody that can step in and be your lead back in the event that Nick Chubb is not healthy and ready to go at the start of the year. Anywhere he's been throughout his career, he's been highly productive when given the opportunity. He was paired with Deuce Staley in Carolina, had some success there. So
2 years ago.
2 years ago. The only thing, he did suffer an Achilles injury. I know me and Mike talked about this maybe, I think 2 or 3 seasons ago. But outside of that, he doesn't have many carries on him, less than 600 career carries. So I really, really like this.
Tyvis?
When I seen that signing right there, you know what it told me?
Well, save what told you.
I like D'Onta I like D'Onta Foreman. I think he's a very physical back, great short yardage, goal line situation guy.
Yeah.
He needs to be the main guy. He's had games and moments where he's looked really good.
Yeah.
And I think that he could be very productive, like I said, down on the goal line. But if this offense is going more to a passing thing, I don't know if that's necessarily you want him in as your feature back.
No, he is not a pass catcher at all. He is a Nick Chubb type of back.
Yes.
And he's a good back. He's a real solid back. Actually, last year was really his worst year. It was a weird season for him because they signed him as a free agent, and then they drafted Rashawn Johnson, and they already had
Herbert.
Khalil Herbert. And early in the year, he was a healthy scratch, and then Johnson and Herbert both got banged up. In the middle of the year, he played, did a decent job, and then by the end of the year, he was a healthy scratch again. You're right, he hasn't played a ton. He had his best year with Deuce Staley in Carolina 2 years ago. I think he had almost 1,000 yards that year, even though he didn't have a ton of carries.
You picked him up for fantasy that year. You were a happy person.
He had a bunch of good games. Yeah. I was reading something from my guy TA about the analytics on him are very positive. He's hard to bring down with the first tackle, a la Nick Chubb. Now, nobody's going to confuse him for Nick Chubb. He's nowhere near as talented, but he's the same mold, same style of running back as Nick Chubb. Now, you started to say, Tyvis, that it told you something. Did it tell you something about Nick Chubb, I assume?
No.
Well, that's not what you're going to say?
No.
Okay.
They told me that Kareem Hunt is done.
Oh, well, yeah. Did you assume that already or no?
Well, I have made a bet right on live on this set. I shook Jay Crawford's hand right there and told him that that Kareem Hunt is done.
Yeah,
so
he should have known that.
I want to know that. I want to collect my winnings.
What was the bet?
What was the bet?
I don't remember.
A steak?
What it is? You know what? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I won.
Right.
That's it. It doesn't even matter what we mad. But, for the Nick Chubb thing, obviously they're a little worried that maybe he's not going to be available right at the beginning of the season. And that's very hard. I mean, listen, you tore both things in your leg. Yeah, it's going to take a while. Adrian Peterson, everybody likes to compare him to Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson is an outlier for this situation. Not a lot of people.
Did he tear both ligaments?
I don't think he did.
I thought it was just his ACL.
Yeah, but even more reason.
Yeah, he's a freak. But
exactly.
I think Nick Chubb's a freak also.
I agree.
Yeah.
But it's like it's just something.
He just more freaky.
Yeah. Right.
All right. He's
Yeah.
a super freak. Super freak.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So Nick Chubb might not be available for the beginning of the season, and you still need a guy to punch it in when you get in those short yardage goal line situations. And obviously he can do that. And you just need another change of pace. You can't just continue to go with the speed backs all the time, man. You need somebody that can wear defenses down, and he can do that. And I know Pierre Strong isn't the answer because I watched him try to go for it on the goal line. He got stoned in the game, right on the one. He tried to punch it in. They, boom, stoned him. So you definitely need that guy since Kareem Hunt ain't on the roster no more.
Yeah, Pierre Strong is done. He's at this point, he's their fifth running back.
Yeah.
Fifth?
Yeah.
Hold on.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Nick, Jerome.
Hines.
And Foreman.
I forget about Hines.
Yeah. Earl, when you heard the news of D'Onta Foreman, was there a part of you that was started to worry about Nick Chubb or no?
I definitely looked at it like, okay, maybe the Browns have some concerns, and instead of trying to get ready, they make sure they are ready. Like, we talked last year a lot about having contingency plans, and I think Andrew Berry is doing his due diligence across the board to make sure I got enough players at X, Y, and Z positions just in case. This way you don't even have to rush Nick Chubb back, right? I think that the pairing of Jerome Ford and D'Onta Foreman is much better in production, or will be much better in production than Hunt and Ford was last year. So I think that this gives you an opportunity to kind of let you just bring Nick Chubb along at its proper pace or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. I think this is cool. It definitely ended the end of Kareem Hunt.
And when you say more production, because a lot of people are listen to that and say,
well, he had all those touchdowns.
Touchdowns. I think you mean like over the course of the field.
Right.
Not like we get positive yards.
We know all Kareem Hunt did was score touchdowns every time he got the opportunity, but just over the course of the field. 109 carries, 425 yards. I think Jerome Ford had like 210 carries for like 813 yards. So the production yards per carry was pretty similar.
Yeah.
But like we all know, Kareem Hunt's yards per carry and the yards that he put forth, like it wasn't all that. So I just think this gives you another productive running back that you compare with Jerome Ford until Nick Chubb is healthy, and then it gives you a solid change of pace back that complements Nick Chubb running style when he is healthy. The first thing I guess I thought about, this is a running back for December and January. This is a good running back to have for December and January.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to. I mean, the first thing I thought of. Obviously, I like the move because he's a good player.
Yeah.
But then the first thing I was like, oh, they got to be concerned. Like, we haven't heard anything about Nick Chubb. For weeks before free agency, we were having so many conversations on this show about, is there a chance he'd get cut? I think we all assumed he wouldn't. But, like, is there a chance? Because his cap number's big. We were talking about restructuring, new contract. There's been nothing on Nick Chubb. It's been dead silence. Now, maybe no news is good news, but I think there's a part, I'll speak just for myself. I just assumed that Nick Chubb would be fine at the beginning of the season because
He's Nick Chubb.
I think he's like a Greek god.
Yeah.
He's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But he's still a human.
Yes.
And he had 2 ligaments torn.
Yeah.
Like, that is a pretty serious injury. He had to have 2 surgeries. And it happened during the season. It wasn't like it happened in training camps where it'd be a year.
Yeah.
So the season will have already started by the time it's a year. So it makes sense, at the very least, to sign a guy who is essentially a poor man's Nick Chubb to replace him to some degree for part of the season. And, you talk about rushing him. Now, Nick Chubb, we don't know. I don't know him personally. I've interviewed him a couple of times. But everything I know about Nick Chubb tells me he's going to want to play as soon as he can.
Yeah.
And he's not going to, he's going to probably maybe even before he should.
I don't think
so?
No, I don't think they would. First of all,
but don't players sometimes think they're ready before maybe they are?
Yeah, Deshaun
Yeah.
did that last year. And
Well, there
see
you
what
go.
happened. So I think that they will protect him from
100%.
himself in
That's
that
right.
situation, and I think that's why this move is for that.
Yeah.
Especially if Foreman goes out there and he's being productive.
Right.
I think for Chubb, the thing that worries me the most is that it's going to take a while to get back because you got to trust your knee. You got to trust that it's there. And that's hard to do. Like after being hurt and can't do anything, and now you think you're just gonna pick right back up and go back to who you were.
Did you ever tear up your knee?
No,
Okay,
I didn't.
good.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've never had any major knee
Unlike G.
injuries.
Bush, who's
But
had
I've
87
yeah,
injuries.
but I've talked to a bunch of people, and they always said that it was always trusting that it was right again. Like that's the thing. That's
the
the
mental
heart.
hurdle, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I think that's where maybe Nick Chubb might have a little bit of that.
I was going to ask about that because you can rehab all day long and you can go through all the drills and all the camps, but until you actually get out there in a real game,
Yeah, you try to hit your move.
and you hit your move or get hit by somebody that's those hits that we look at a TV like, oh, that was a tough one.
Yeah.
And until you see him pop right back up,
Exactly.
that's when I think everybody take a collective deep breath.
And on top of that, you never know. He could be scarred. Somebody, one of them DBs come run, he might curl up
Yeah.
now. Like it
Booby Miles thought he was ready to play.
yeah.
He got out there and he
You
was
want
not
to
ready
win?
play.
Put Booby in.
I'm about to spin.
By the way, the movie way better than
Way
the TV
better.
show. That movie was great. I read the book, by the way. I read the book first, then I saw the movie.
Really?
It's a good book.
You're such a great reader.
I'm an okay reader, but
read a lot.
That was a really good
You
book.
read a lot.
I do, but mostly only at night. Only at night before
That's
I go
one
to
of
bed.
my favorite movies, though.
Great movie.
Friday Night Lights.
Great
one of my
movie.
favorite
Great
Any
movie.
Given Sunday is my favorite football movie.
Oh no, I thought it was overrated.
What?
That speech at the end is great.
I
I'll
don't
give you
care
that.
about no speech.
I don't know. I thought all the uniforms and the fields.
I
were so
I
cheesy.
think for me, it was the action cameras. Like
that was cool.
Like
I'll
it
give
was like
that.
you literally was there. Like
So you wasn't dancing like Willie Beeman? You wasn't doing your own
I
music?
guess I-
I can see booing out. Who am I?
Yeah.
Willie Beeman.
All right, I was doing the Willie Beeman. Yeah. But I don't know. My favorite football movie of all time is Remember the Titans.
Mine too.
That's what everybody
Mine
says.
too. You will be perfect in every aspect.
It's a
of the
it's a
game.
great movie, and it deserves all the
Yeah.
awards and accolades. But I just like the action pack.
Yeah.
Like
Even though I was reading an article, because whenever a movie is based on a real thing.
Yeah.
Like, remember the Titans? I always like to read like how true was the movie.
Yeah.
And apparently, Herman Boone, who's the character Denzel Washington played,
Right.
was a big time asshole. Like,
Really?
he was awful to all the kids. Like,
Wow.
everybody hated him.
Say black or white, everybody get the same treatment around.
Everybody hated him.
Well, they definitely changed that for the movie.
But yeah. Like, nobody hates Denzel Washington.
Well, no, it's
Even when he's a bad guy, you're like, it's Denzel Washington. I can't hate him. Go ahead, Mike.
So there was some scuttlebutt on Twitter last night after the
Ooh,
Foreman signing.
scuttlebutt.
You like that?
Yeah.
Use of a new word. That this may put Jerome Ford's roster spot in jeopardy. Do you guys agree with that?
That's ridiculous.
That's
potential
the dumbest
theory?
thing I ever heard.
That is-
Whoever put that out there is an idiot. Who put that out there?
There's a lot of people talking about it.
That's ridiculous. Your lead back from last year, it's gonna put him in jeopardy. That doesn't even make sense. Like,
So you think they carry 4 running backs?
no,
Well-
they carried 3 and put 1 on practice squad.
Well,
Which if they was to cut Pierre Strong, I don't think people would pick him up.
no, forget Pierre Strong. When let's say Nick
keep
Chubb.
forgetting about Hines.
So
You
Nick
keep-
Chubb
I'm
could start the
behind.
season on PUP, right?
Okay.
Right. If he starts on the PUP list, he misses the first 4 games. Let's say all 3 of those guys are healthy: Hines, Ford, and D'Onta Foreman. And then Chubb comes
Well,
back.
the third back would be Hines,
Yes.
and he's your returner.
Right.
So
Now, I
special
think
teams is what's gonna keep him around.
I actually believe in that case they might keep 4 running backs.
Because
Now,
what
he-
is your returner? It's not like he's gonna come in every now
Yeah.
and again, but for the most
Well,
part,
but I don't know. I
they brought him
think
to be
they
the
use-
returner.
But he's a really good pass
Yeah, I was
catcher.
about to say,
I
he-
would use him in that role. Now, they like Ford in that role too.
Exactly. He's supposed to be the best.
But Hines he's always been a really. Now, he didn't play last year, so I don't know.
I
What
mean,
he's
it's a
gonna be.
nice change of pace.
But there's
for
no
sure.
way they're cutting Jerome Ford. Are we all
That's
in agreement on
ridiculous.
that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
They
And
like him.
worst case scenario, he was a kickoff returner.
And by the way, listen, I was critical of the Browns' running game last year, but he wasn't terrible.
No,
It wasn't like he was awful. He was just
actually
okay.
He was hot and cold.
He got better as the year went on. His vision just wasn't that great, but he had moments where he started to see things and he ran just a tad bit harder,
Yeah.
especially towards the end of the year. He got a lot better.
They would cut Hines or Foreman before they cut Ford,
I agree.
right? I mean,
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Nick
He's
Chubb's
first of all,
healthy-
and he's the cheapest.
if
He's on
Nick
a rookie
Chubb's
deal.
healthy, if Nick Chubb's healthy, D'Onta Foreman's not playing.
Yes.
He's out.
Yes.
So if anything, they cut him or like trade him for a 7th-round pick or something.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
But they're not getting rid of Ford because Foreman is the same skill set as Chubb, just not as good.
You wouldn't cut Ford because Ford can take care of like 3 things. He could be your
Right.
pass catching back, he can be your returner, and he can be your starting back. Why
Yeah.
would you get rid of a guy that can do 3 different things?
Right. And Hines, I like what he can bring.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if he's 100% certain to make the team. Like, he didn't play last year. He's not young.
Well, I'll tell you what, they re-signed Prochet again.
So let me ask y'all both a question.
yeah.
So if Chubb starts the season on the PUP list,
Yeah.
you think Ford will beat out Foreman for the running back 1 position?
Yes.
I think they're 1A, 1B.
I think Jerome Ford be the starting back.
Maybe technically, but I think they'll split
Yeah,
carries.
split carries,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Jerome Ford, when they come out and they break the huddle for the first one, Jerome Ford will be the starting
The
back.
truth is we've been very lucky in Cleveland with Nick Chubb because it doesn't even have to be lucky. Most teams in the NFL don't have a clear number 1 back or don't have one guy getting 15, 20 carries. Most teams have a split backfield. Maybe it's 60-40, but there are a lot of teams that are 60-40 or 50-50 or something like that.
Maybe.
It's not, and that's what the Browns would be.
Maybe they're looking at
Without
it like how Philadelphia do. Philadelphia got like 4 running backs that they rotate throughout the game.
Right.
I mean,
it'll probably change with Barkley there, I would think. But
yeah. Well, you never know.
yeah.
They
seem to love, what's his name?
Swift.
No. Well, Swift's gone. Gainwell, right.
Yeah, Gainwell.
They like using him. He plays a little bit. They throw Boston Scott in there every once in a
Yeah,
while.
they had like 3 or 4 guys. So.
Yeah. But I would think that if Chubb can't start the season, and even if Chubb is healthy, even let's say he's active for week 1, they're still not going to give him a full load of carries week 1. So I think if Nick Chubb is on the PUP list, that I agree with you. I think Ford technically is the starter, but I think D'Onta Foreman probably gets 12 carries, and Ford gets 10 or 12 and then a few catches.
Well, I think if you look at the season last year, although they had Kareem Hunt, it still was he he wasn't the same Kareem Hunt. Like Kareem
No.
Hunt runs the ball. He's fearless. He runs through a brick wall, but it wasn't effective.
No.
like that.
No.
Like Foreman actually can be effective in yardage.
Oh,
That's
he'll get
what-
more touches than Hunt got.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it just seemed like when Jason would say he's on 3 wheels, like
Yeah.
I understood what he was saying.
Right, he was right.
It's like he didn't have that burst anymore.
Yeah,
Like
right.
And it is what it is. But I think Foreman still can do that. And now you got a nice 1-2, combo where you got a guy with speed, but you got a physical guy that can also be productive in the run game as well.
Right. I wonder if, especially before Chubb comes back, if he's not ready for Week 1, if they would even have Foreman and Ford in the backfield at the same time.
No.
Yeah, they've never.
It's
They,
not,
they're
and
not
if
really
they didn't
doing
do it with Kareem and Nick Chubb 2 years ago, then they're not going to ever do it.
I don't know. You never know. I mean, Ken Dorsey is in here with Kevin
That's true. It's a
Stefanski now.
new
that
there's a
might
new
be.
person in the mix.
Did they do it in Buffalo?
I have to go back.
He
and
liked
check,
more
check the
two tight
tape.
end sets than 2 back sets.
What's that?
Dorsey's a bigger fan of 2 tight end sets. than
Oh,
he is
well,
two
him and
back
Kevin
sets.
is best friends then.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
they better get a better second tight end then.
Jordan Akins. Trade everything for Brock Bowers.
Let me ask you guys one more question.
Yeah.
Earl, I'll start with you.
You might have to get in the top 10 to get him.
You
We have
probably
talked
will.
about the Browns at pick 54 now because of the talent up and down across the roster, being able to pick best position available or best player available, excuse me, at 54. Now that they have 4 backs on the roster, potentially 5 with Pierre Strong, but we assume he's gone. Do you think there's any chance they still look at running back with one of their first 2 picks? Or
No,
is that out of the
absolutely,
equation?
absolutely not. I think from the start of free agency into now, and not just with the Cleveland Browns, I think what we really noticed was general managers looked at the running back class that's coming out this year and said this is a very weak class. I think I've read articles, I've seen mock drafts to where the first running back didn't go into the 3rd round. And so I think the emphasis on free agent running backs this year, that's probably why it seemed like it was an elevated priority, and it's probably why they got $2-3 million annually more than they probably would have in the past, not just because of the salary cap going up. And so, I don't think that the Browns is going to be looking at a running back at all. I think that ship has sailed.
It was a good year to be a free agent running. First of all,
It was.
It was a great running back class in free agency,
Yeah,
one of the best we've seen.
Yeah.
And as you said, the consensus from the draft experts seems to be that this is not a good running back group. I wouldn't say there's no chance they draft a running back. I think it's unlikely. I don't think they're going into the draft saying, well, we'd never draft a running back in that spot.
Right.
It just doesn't seem like there's a running back worth drafting in that spot necessarily.
I mean, I agree with that. I just feel like at every draft, you always take a running back. Like, whether it's 6th round, 7th round, or undrafted.
Yeah.
It
But
seems
you'd be
like,
surprised if they took one in the 2nd round.
oh, yeah. No, if it was at the 2nd round pick,
Yeah.
I'd be shocked. That's not a position that you need right now. Like, don't get me wrong. Even if Nick Chubb doesn't come back as Nick Chubb, running backs, they say come a dime a dozen. So as long as I think you got the ones on your roster currently that fits what you're trying to do offensively anyways,
Yeah.
as far as being more of a pass catching back, I think you got, and Jerome Ford showed you that he can at least be effective between the tackles. So I think you got a guy who can be at least serviceable until you can land a guy later on. So at 54, no way they drafting a running back.
So what positions would we be shocked if they drafted at 54? Obviously quarterback,
Yes.
running back, I think we're all in agreement. Any other position?
That
you'd
we would be
shocked?
absolutely shocked at.
I'd be shocked. I'd be surprised if they drafted a corner at 54. No, you guys don't agree?
I think I'd be more
If they draft a corner,
If they draft a
54,
corner-
then I need to see later that Greg Newsome or
Is
somebody
traded.
or
So
Martin
you would
Emerson
be
got
surprised if
traded.
they drafted a corner.
No, don't say Martin Emerson, man. Don't say
If they draft a corner at 54,
Yeah.
One of them dudes is
later
gone, though.
it better be a notification right after that says somebody got
Yeah.
traded.
So then, obviously, I would not be surprised by an offensive lineman. I know it doesn't seem like an obvious need.
I wouldn't be
but
surprised.
with older guys in the middle of that
You
line.
would be? You said you would be?
I would not be.
Oh, no. If it was a left tackle, I wouldn't be shocked.
Right, and there's a lot of good offensive linemen in this.
Man, if they went tackle or guard with their first pick, I wouldn't be mad at all because
you
you got
know.
aging players that make a lot
Right.
of money at those positions. So.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised by wide receiver, even with the addition
No,
of Jerry
because
Jeudy.
2 of yours is still going to be
free
free
agents.
agents.
Yeah,
and,
right.
and you don't know what you got with Tillman and
Bell.
David Bell.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be surprised. What about tight end? Would you be surprised if they went tight end?
That might be a need if they running 2 tight end sets. I feel like that's a little early to take a tight end.
Probably.
But if it's like
are there any highly thought of tight ends besides Bowers in this draft that I wasn't
It's a
paying for?
decent class.
Decent?
Decently regarded. Not like last year where they had Kincaid and
Laporta.
And the guy from Mayer from
Yeah, well, he didn't
Las
do anything.
Vegas.
Well, there was a fourth guy. There were like 4.
Green Bay, the dude in Green Bay.
Green Bay, yeah.
Yeah, Luke Musgrave.
Musgrave. Right.
And so it's not that highly regarded, but there's a couple guys in the second, third round. Cade Stover out of Ohio State's in that conversation.
Go Bucks.
There's a guy from Kansas State, Sinnott.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure to pronounce his last name.
Defensive line is interesting because
Bowers is the top guy. And then
you've got 9 guys that I look at as locks for the roster. And yet, most of them are, or not most, well, yeah, most are older guys on short contracts.
Yeah.
And so, in the end, I can't be shocked because you could keep 10 defensive linemen.
You could.
Yeah.
But you always look into. You got to find a way because your quarterback is going to take the majority of the money now. Now that he's taking a big hit.
Yeah.
So now you got to find impactful players on rookie deals.
Absolutely.
Because you can't keep affording to keep paying these big contracts. You take
Right.
care of the main 3 or 4 guys that you need.
Right.
But now you need guys that can be impactful that's on rookie deals. You can't keep paying Zadarius this type of money. You can't, when it's time for Geno or Martin Emerson, maybe you can't afford to pay all this money. So that's why I think that it's always okay if they find a defensive end that they like or a defensive tackle that they like and they want to get them on a rookie deal that's serviceable, that can be productive. Take that.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
I think one of the things that I always wanted to see the Cleveland Browns do was kind of like mirror how the Pittsburgh Steelers build out their rosters. And what I mean by that is, let's use Alex Wright, for example, right? Mm-hmm. When Alex Wright was drafted 2 years ago, this was the one pick that Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry said that everybody in the building was in agreement on. Mm-hmm. They felt like he was a young, raw talent, but he wasn't ready to play right away. And you sign a guy like Zadarius Smith, who's a veteran, who's had a lot of success, over 41 sacks over the last 4 or 5 years, to be an immediate productive player, but to also be a teacher to this young dude. And so what I think the Browns are trying to do is trying to make sure that you get these guys that are young, talented guys that might not be ready to play yet, but you got some veterans that can produce for you immediately and be teachers and tutors to these younger players, so that when it's time, these guys can step up and take over that role.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers, as you say, and the Ravens have done that for years. In recent years, the Bengals have been able to do that.
Yeah.
Draft guys high and let them sit for a year because you don't need them right away.
Yeah.
We're used to so many years, the Browns forcing their draft picks into the starting lineup even when they didn't really earn it because they just had nobody else to
choice.
play.
Right.
And that's not the case now with this roster. Now, unfortunately, they haven't had a lot of high draft picks in recent years. So it's not like you're getting the premier talent to, but this year you do have a second-round pick, and, unlike last year where your first pick was in the 3rd round. So hopefully they can, because, there's nobody they drafted that's going to start right away, or unlikely. I mean,
I think we all agree with that. I think the Browns are past that. Like, we're not.
They're not. Yeah, I don't think they need a starter.
no, I mean, where would where would somebody start? Again, I think we talked about this a little bit. I think Mike mentioned this. He's probably right. If you got a receiver at 58 that killed it in camp and maybe he's the 3rd wide receiver ahead of Elijah Moore, I think that's possible. If he's that good.
You over the Elijah Moore train?
I've been over it for a while. Yeah.
I ain't giving up.
All right. Well.
Man, I said that dude was going to have 1,600 all-purpose yards last year. Remember, I had him for 1,000 yards receiving. I had him for another 400 yards.
I respect the self-call out.
I ain't giving up.
We all get it wrong sometimes.
I ain't wrong.
What do you mean you ain't wrong?
I was wrong last year, but I ain't wrong.
So you think he's
overall.
got a good year this year?
I think so.
It's 1,000 yards this year?
No way.
Go ahead and say yeah. Go ahead.
Further down the depth
Wait
chart.
a minute.
Go ahead.
What did he have last year?
600,
He had 600 yards last year?
6. What do you have, Mike?
6
630?
something, yeah. 6 something.
I ain't going to say 1,000. That's absurd.
He going to have 6?
Yeah.
Can he duplicate what he did last year?
I'm gonna say he's gonna have 759.
Wow.
750,
And how much is Jerry Jeudy gonna
759 and
have?
4 touchdowns.
759.5. You taking it
And
over?
how many yards is Judy going to have?
Judy gonna have 1,000 because they gonna force feed him.
And how many yards is Amari Cooper going to have?
Amari has to have 1,000.
So it'll be the first time.
So they got about
what about
3,000
Njoku?
yards from their top 3 receivers. That's a lot.
What about Njoku?
And Njoku.
Njoku's gonna take a dip this year.
Uh-oh.
I don't think he. What he had 800 last year.
859.
So you're saying
he gonna have like 690.
so
like
Jerry
7
Jeudy
touchdowns.
and Amari Cooper is gonna go Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Odell's 1,000-yard season was the most fraudulent 1,000-yard season
Oh
in
my
the history of
gosh.
football. That was fraudulent. Go ahead.
Just to give a bow tie in this conversation, the
Yeah.
difference between picking at 54 and where the Browns picked last year at 74 was 20 picks. So just a few players selected in last year's draft between 54 and 74 to give you an idea of the kind of caliber the Browns may be able to
Tank
get.
Dell?
Tank Dell was in that. Rashee Rice of Kansas City was in that. Byron Young, he finished third in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting for the Los Angeles Rams. And a bunch of guys who didn't also do anything. So 3 hits, legit hits at least. In
Imagine
that
if the Browns had Tank
20
Dell
pick.
right now.
Yeah.
Man.
So one of you.
Oof.
I move on to our next topic here.
For
Earl,
Houston.
you got a 216 show coming
Where
up
did Tank
tonight.
Dell, before you do that, where did Tank Dell get drafted? What was his draft? He was early third
69,
round, right?
69
Did the Browns
Lunch.
pick before or after that?
after. Did not have a chance.
Okay. See.
Well, but didn't they trade down? Or am I making that up?
Well, then they switched with Elijah Moore. When they traded for
That's
Elijah
right.
Moore, they dropped from 2 to 3.
I would have much rather had that. Now, who knows if they would have drafted Tank Dell, but I'd much rather have Tank Dell than Elijah Moore right now, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. We're going to move on to our next topic. Earl, you got a hell of a 216 show coming up before we talk about the Browns pass rush. Tell us what's coming up tonight.
Yeah,
5
so
o'clock.
my homeboy, former NFL wide receiver Cecil Shorts, is going to join me tonight. We're going to have a very, very spirited conversation about mental health. We're going to talk about Cecil growing up in Cleveland, what it felt like to be drafted into the NFL. Cecil was one of them dudes who, his career was snatched away from him due to a career-ending injury. We're going to talk about those dark days, but the comeback as well, the physical and the mental comeback. And then we're going to finally address the rumors. So he's a Collinwood railroader. Now, we done had Coach Ted Ginn Sr. from the Glenville Tar Blooders on our set, on our show before. There's always been rumors that Cecil was close to becoming a Glenville Tar Blooder, so he kind of going to put that to bed today. So it should be a fun show. If you a Cleveland native, a Collinwood railroader, I encourage you, man, to tune in, man, pull up. This is going to be fun.
Where does he rank on the all-time Collinwood football player list? Is he number 1?
First. There was one guy, I think his name was Amari Jordan. He played defensive tackle. He actually played for the Carolina Panthers for a while.
But there could have been a guy who was great in high school, got hurt, maybe he never played.
No, Cecil was.
There wasn't. Cecil was the best.
Cecil was the best. Cecil was the best athlete that I think I had seen all around in a long time to ever come out of Collinwood.
Did he play any other sports? I don't
He played
remember.
basketball, played baseball a little bit. Cecil's a better hooper than he is football.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's going to be a hell of a conversation.
tell
Can't wait for
Cecil
that.
I'm
5
looking
o'clock
for the
today
ones.
on the Ultimate Cleveland
looking
Sports
for
Show
the what?
YouTube
The
channel.
ones.
What does that mean?
1-on-1.
You want to play him in hoops?
No.
They got
Oh, like in football.
1-on-1.
I mean, he's a lot older than you
I
now.
don't care.
How old is he?
Cecil 36.
Oh, he's not that old. I thought he was. I don't know. I thought he was older than that. That's because he had to retire young. That's why I thought he was older than that.
Yeah, so it's
All
gonna
right,
be fun.
Mike.
All right, so yesterday, Bleacher Report put out its list of the top 10 pass rush units in the NFL entering the 2024 season after the first week, or first 10 days really, of free agency. And this is who Bleacher Report put in their top 10. We'll start at 10. We'll work our way down to 1. At 10, the Houston Texans. 9, the Raiders. 8, Jets. 7, Colts. 6, Eagles. And the top 5 includes 3 AFC North teams, the Bengals at 5, the Bills at 4, the 49ers at 3, the Steelers at 2, and the Cleveland Browns, number 1, as the best pass rush unit in the entire NFL. Bull, do you agree with Bleacher Report's assessment? The Browns have the best pass rush in the entire NFL.
I would be disingenuous if I said for sure I agree, because I don't know every other team's pass rush well enough to be sure about that. But I certainly think they belong in the conversation, and I'm not surprised that they were number 1, because obviously Myles Garrett's as good as anybody. Now, I'm not as confident in Zadarius Smith as others are, but like Earl, who mentioned him earlier, I really like what I saw from Alex Wright at the end of last year. I thought he made a pretty big jump when he got a chance to play late, and he made some impact in a number of games. So while I'm nervous about Zadarius Smith being a big factor, I think Alex Wright, while Zadarius goes down a little, Alex Wright goes up. I think Ogbo's one of these guys who's going to be just continue to be like a steady third guy. And, JOK showed you last year that he could be a factor as well. And, in the middle, they got some guys, not a great pass rusher at defensive tackle. But I'm forgetting the name of the guy they signed from the Jets.
Quentin Jefferson.
Thank you. He can get to the quarterback a little bit, so they've improved there. And even Hurst, if he's healthy, is not bad either. So, yeah, I mean, on paper, without knowing the other teams as well as I know the Browns and the Bengals, yeah, I think the Browns probably should be number one.
So for me, my hometown homerism bias was like, you damn right.
Yeah, right.
But to your point, I took the you damn right to just damn right. Because I got to go damn right because I don't know the other team's moves, the additions and the players that they lost. But the Browns didn't lose anybody that played a significant role as far as production-wise on the defensive line last year. And then you add a guy like Quentin Jefferson. Myles Garrett, like as you noted, anchors this defensive line. Reigned the Defensive Player of the Year, was the top graded, had the top grade via pass rush according to PFF. And then Zadarius Smith, the sack numbers wasn't there, but he did have 60 pressures. And his pass rush grade was top 8. You look at the interior of the line, Hurst, Harris, and Tomlinson, all of those dudes finished with a pass rush grade of between 75 and 72. It's not the best, but it's not the worst that you've seen at all. And you put that together with the addition of Quentin Jefferson, who had like a 75.3 pass rush grade itself, then yeah, I can see why the Cleveland Browns will be considered the number 1 overall pass rush team in the NFL. And if they're not number 1, they're definitely in the conversation for top 2 or 3.
Ultimately, it really doesn't matter if they're number 1. It only matters if you're in the conversation.
Right.
Because whether you're 2 or 3 or 1, you're really good.
Just be in the conversation.
In the end, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Who's number 1. It's an opinion, but go ahead.
I personally wouldn't have put them as number 1.
Who would you put number 1?
I mean, I would literally go off of last year. Baltimore had led the league in sacks, and it was by a wide margin.
Yeah, but you can't just go by last year. Some guys don't put up the same numbers year to year. Why were the Ravens dropped out of the top 10? That's weird.
That's what's
they didn't lose any defensive linemen, did they?
Well, Clowney hasn't re-signed yet.
Oh, okay.
And Kyle Van Noy, and I don't know the answer. I didn't write the article, but Kyle Van Noy had 6 or 7 sacks for them. He was signed in like week 3, and he's an older player that I think probably pretty unlikely he replicates that.
Right, but to go from, I could see if they dropped them like 5.
They're
not even being in the top 10.
That's crazy.
I didn't make it. I'm just telling you what I think they did.
Yeah, here were the sack leaders last year by team. The Ravens led with 60.
Was it a significant drop?
No. The Chiefs were second with 57.
Okay.
The Dolphins third with 56. The Bills were fourth with 51, and then the Colts. I'm sorry. The Bills were fourth with 54, and then the Colts were fifth with 51.
See, and don't get me wrong, sacks is not the end-all, be-all when it comes to rush. You got to go with, like, quarterback pressures and stuff like that, make them get rid of the ball, hurries and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I think the Browns are definitely up there for sure. I mean, since Jim Schwartz came in there, they, at the beginning of the season, they were unbelievable at, at least getting the quarterback to move or getting an effective pass rush. So I see why they can be up there at number 1 or close to number 1 or whatever you want to say. But like Pittsburgh's D-line is good. They added Patrick Queen. They added some stuff there that's really good as well. I'm with y'all. I'm not going to necessarily say that they number 1, but they definitely in the top 2, top 3 for sure.
Let me play devil's advocate a little bit because I agree with everything you just said. What if they have the Browns number 1? Because all of these other defenses, Baltimore will be going into a new defensive system. They lost their DC last year.
That's true. It's a good point.
But the way I had it, they might have looked at the Cleveland Browns last year and said, damn, they produced this level in year one in this defense. Now they got all these dudes coming back, and they going into year 2 of this defense. So maybe that was the thinking behind ranking the Cleveland Browns number 1.
Right.
And then the Ravens did lose their defensive coordinator. They do have some dudes that's still unsigned, and they lost Patrick Queen. And unlike the Cleveland Browns, to where the linebackers are not really highlighted like that as far as, pass rushers, that might be the case with the Baltimore Ravens. And
Yeah,
losing Patrick Queen could hurt.
Quick,
Yeah,
I
go ahead,
found
Mike.
from Bleacher Report, they actually had a second article of why 3 teams didn't make the list.
Oh, okay.
Baltimore, Dallas, and the Chargers. You want me to read the quick little blurb
Sure.
on each of them? So for Baltimore, this is from the Bleacher Report article. The Ravens led the NFL in sacks last season and managed to re-sign Justin Madubuike, who led the team in the metric. However, Clowney and Kyle Van Noy ranked 2nd and 3rd respectively for Baltimore, and neither is currently under contract with the club. That's 18.5 sacks they haven't replaced, and that doesn't include the 3.5 that Patrick Queen contributed, and now he's in Pittsburgh. The team also lost their defensive coordinator. So bringing back the defensive tackle was a good move, but overall the team's pass rush took a hit.
Yeah, between those 3 guys, you're talking over a third of their sacks.
Yeah.
I think that adds up to 21 or 22.
21
of
and a
their
half,
60
those
sacks.
3.
So that's now they still may bring those guys back, and maybe it's different. But when you're doing an article like this, first of all, it's just probably one person's opinion. Maybe it's a couple of guys, I don't know. But
It was written by Matt Holder.
Yeah,
just Matt
some
Holder.
random dude from Bleacher Report. You're trying to project ahead.
Yeah.
If you're going to just do it based on last year, what's the point of having a list? But I was surprised that the Bengals were that high because they didn't have obviously Hendrickson's an excellent pass rusher, but nobody else was a really good. Sam Hubbard's a good
Go Bucks.
run-stopping defensive end, but he's not much of a pass rusher when he was hurt last year. But they did add
Rankins.
Rankins, who's a really good
Do you want to hear the
pass
Bengals' little
rusher for a
write-up?
D tackle. Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Since signing with the team 3 years ago, Trey Hendrickson has been nothing short of spectacular. He's racked up 39.5 sacks, including a career-high 17.5 last season, and has made the Pro Bowl in all 3. He consistently puts pressure on the quarterback and has helped from a great edge duo with Sam Hubbard. The Cincinnati native has gotten to the quarterback 20 times over the last 3 years and was second on the team with 6 sacks in only 15 games. That's a pretty good production coming from the club's second pass rusher. B.J. Hill has also been a quality pass rusher. He posted 13 sacks during that time frame. According to Pro Football Focus, the 6-year veteran also added 14 quarterback hits and was consistently in the opponent's backfield. And then there's Rankins. The free agent signing had 6 sacks in Houston last season and gives Cincinnati 4 pass rushers, 2 on the inside, 2 on the edge, that opponents must account for.
What's the rotational pass rusher you guys drafted from Texas a couple years ago?
The guy that pushed Mahomes
Osai.
out of bounds.
I like
Yes.
him.
Yeah, he was in the doghouse last year, but I liked him too.
I like him.
Still can't believe that
and
play.
another reason
I
I
was
don't-
so pissed about that.
Another reason
Yeah.
I can't put the Browns at number 1
Yeah.
is because when they needed it the most in the playoffs,
That's fair.
like towards the end of the season, it kind of just disappeared.
That's fair.
So I think that
Although
you got to show up in those big moments.
That's true. Although the Ravens kind of shit the bed too in the playoffs.
They did.
They did.
All right, Mike.
All right, we'll move on here.
Yeah.
And this topic, I know you're really excited to talk about, Bull, but before we do that, a quick reminder. Thank you to everyone out here who watches this show. You guys, the fans, Browns fans, Cavs fans, Guardians fans, whatever fan you are, honestly, if you're watching this, we appreciate you guys. Take a second, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It does wonders for us in the back end, and we can't say thank you enough. So earlier this week, the Browns officially announced the re-signing of Mo Hurst. He was on the Cleveland Browns Daily Show and was asked about potentially playing in Brazil. And this was his answer to that question. Steve, you take tag board and play it.
We're organizing the room vacation. Where are you going? If you're the party
I
planner.
mean, if we're doing a cruise, I mean,
What if everything's on the table?
yeah, anything's on the
Yeah.
table. I mean, we're playing in Brazil this year, so I mean, we could do a
Rio?
trip. Yeah, just a little Rio trip out there.
I don't know how that would lose. Yeah.
By the way, the funniest thing about that is that we're playing this from a Nick Carden's tweet.
We love Nick Carnes, our guy. We talked about him yesterday. So he said that, and then there was some immediate, oh my goodness, did he spill the beans? To which
Yeah.
then Mo Hurst kind of backtracked and said, what he said, he tweeted this out. I thought this was public information, but was mistaken. I just read the rumors like everyone else. Sorry, everybody. He then tweeted out a meme from The Office of Jim kind of going down because it came from a Peter King article.
Peter King was speculating that he thought the Browns could be the team that ends up playing in Philadelphia. He didn't say definitely, but he thought that the Browns.
He said he felt good about the Browns.
Right, that it was the Browns for whatever reason.
So then that led to some more chatter online about how the NFL is conspiring to sabotage the Browns by sending them to Brazil in Week 1.
Even I'm looking like this. Like, come on.
Well, are you not buying? Are you not buying this?
So first of all, I hate conspiracy theories because we have become a country inundated by nonsensical, idiotic, moronic conspiracy theories. I'm not going to go through them all. But Browns fans in particular, when it comes to fan bases, and there are other fan bases that think leagues are out to get them and whatever. It's not unique to Browns fans. But I feel like every year we have to do this nonsense. There's always something that a segment of the Browns fan base has to point to and say, see, the league's going to screw us. Now it's Deshaun Watson. Before it was, because they sued the league to get their rights. There's always some excuse. First of all, I don't understand how them going to Brazil screws the Browns. Like, teams go to England all the time. Have the Browns even gone to England? If they have, it's a long time.
Once.
And it was a while ago. Other teams go all the time. And why wouldn't if anybody, the Eagles are getting screwed because they lose a home game going to Brazil. But again, beyond that, it's like nobody can give me a real reason besides I'm a biased Browns fan and I think everybody hates me. Like, do you think this guy's actively in the NFL office saying, all right, how are we going to screw over the Cleveland this year? I mean, come on, that's just silly.
First of all, the Browns are not the only team going to Brazil. So how can the NFL be actively trying to screw over the Browns?
And we don't even know for sure it's them yet.
Right, but it's not like if they were going that they're playing the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
They have an opponent. And so these are two teams that's in the same situation. So how is one team being screwed over and the other not? I think people are looking at this glass half empty instead of glass half full. It'd be very cool for the Cleveland Browns to be one of the first two teams to ever play a game in Brazil. That's something that's going to be etched in NFL history and that in the city you can always go back and point to. But instead of looking at it and putting a positive spin on it, that you're going to be showcased in front of the entire world. Yeah. Like, you're looking at it like somebody trying to screw you over. Like, just change the thought process.
Tyvus, as a player, I don't know. I obviously never played. I would think as a player I'd be excited about it. Would you be or no?
To have an opportunity to play in Brazil?
Yeah.
I got an opportunity to play in Hawaii, and I was geeked about it. Oh, my goodness. It was unbelievable. We lost. I think we lost. I think we played the Rams.
Was that in college? Oh, that was in the NFL.
Yeah, it was a preseason game.
Oh,
I was playing for Dallas.
Right. It was exciting.
It was.
Did you get to spend much time there?
Yeah, we spent the whole week out there. That was actually wonderful.
Nice.
But I think we lost the game to the Rams, if I can remember correctly. Yeah, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think, right. Yeah. I think it's
had a couple of my ties. It was cool.
I think it's for the Browns to play in Brazil. First of all, the Browns fan base is pretty good. They got a pretty good fan base. You would think that it's probably some Browns backers in Brazil. So for them to have an opportunity to come watch them play live, that's big time. To be the first team to play in Brazil, that's big time as well. I guess from a travel standpoint, people are like, well, they got to travel there and then they got to come back and be able to play the very next week. Okay, that's fine and cool and dandy. These are professional athletes. These guys should be able to get their bodies right. I mean, what's the difference between if they played on a Sunday and had to play the next Thursday? Like, they're able to pull those things off. So if that's the case, I'm never worried about the travel or anything like that affecting the play of a team. I think it's a really cool opportunity. There's no way in shape, form, or fashion that they're getting screwed over in this deal. I think the players will be excited to do it, and they'll have a really good time. And if this season means a lot to them, they'll find a way to win that, come back, and continue to win the rest of these games. So I'm not worried about it one bit.
And by the way, I'm not sure exactly how long the flight is, but in terms of time zone, I think it's the same time zone as us, or maybe 1 hour difference. It's not like going to England where you're 6 hours ahead and you're all screwed up time-wise.
Yeah.
I think Brazil might be Central Time Zone. I think it's only 1 hour behind Cleveland, I believe. Either 1 hour ahead or 1 hour behind.
They're 1 hour ahead.
Oh, it's 1 hour ahead. So, like, from a time perspective, it's not a big deal. I'm sure it's a long flight, but I don't know how long a flight it is. But it just, I would just think that was an amazing opportunity, and I'd much rather, if I were a player, do that in week 1 than in the middle of the season, right?
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Because you know why you can, right after training camp is over, you can just fly right out.
Exactly. They can go early.
Yeah.
Especially because nowadays, with the no fourth preseason game, you finish the preseason 17 days, usually 16, maybe 17, whatever, before the regular season starts. So they could go out there.
They would.
Whatever, a week
They
early.
would. They most definitely would go.
And it's a Friday, so even with the travel, you're still going to be back at least by Sunday.
Yeah.
So you'd still have a week to and the Browns will play Sunday the following week.
Whoever
probably.
came up with this conspiracy theory just didn't think this. They wanted some clicks and they wanted just to have something to talk about on the internet.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
So we can squash any conspiracy.
We're squashing it.
Yeah.
We're squashing it.
I put it in the chat. I put a poll up. Do you think the NFL is trying to sabotage the Browns? What do you think the chat's response is? There are 173 votes at the minute.
I'm going to say the chat said no.
I'm going to say 80-20 no.
I'm with Tyvis, 80-20 no.
70-30 no. So our fans, specifically watching today, are smarter than some others on Twitter.
So I'd love the 30% who said yes to explain to us how the Browns are being potentially screwed in this situation. What's the argument that they're being screwed? Because we haven't been able to, as a trio, been able to come up with anything.
Just from reading tweets, the thought of traveling, having to come back, and then putting them on a week 2 or week 3 game against Baltimore or Pittsburgh or front-loading schedule.
First of all, the Eagles would have to do the same thing. The Eagles lose the home game, and now we're going to make it worse by saying they're going to assume the league is purposely going to give them a tough game the next week, which we have no clue.
Newsflash, did you see the Browns schedule last year when it dropped? Like, come on, man. I know it ain't true. I'm just saying, like, everybody be in those situations, and typically, like Tyvis said, if you play, like, especially if you play out of the country, you would assume your next game, whether it be Sunday or Monday, is a later game. It's probably not even like a 1 p.m. game the next week. And so what if your next opponent is Baltimore?
Yeah.
We last year we had to deal with a tough schedule right out the gate.
Yeah, right.
I don't think the league
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is
the
what
Browns
it is.
have a lot of tough games on the schedule.
Like,
the odds are it's going to be a good team in week 2.
That's what it is.
You're playing a lot of good teams. What can you do?
I mean, you can't count nobody out in the NFL.
No. Who do they play that's terrible this year?
The Commanders and the Giants.
Maybe the Raiders?
I'm big
Maybe
on
the
that.
Raiders.
Like parity is the thing. You can't count nobody out. But I'm never going to sit up here and say, hey, Arizona got a chance this year.
You never know.
I don't even know that the Giants are – I make fun of them, but I don't know that they're terrible. I could see them being better.
McNuggets can tell you all about them.
I could see them being mediocre, maybe. I think it's possible.
Did they make any moves this offseason?
They got
on
Brian
the line?
Burns.
They signed a couple offensive linemen.
I mean, defensive line.
Who's their running back, by the way?
They signed Devin Singletary.
Oh, he's not very good. He had a nice year.
He had a nice year last year.
He did. He's not safe.
They got a nasty D line. I tell you that.
Yeah, their skill position talent is not good.
Do y'all got any corners? Who y'all number 1 corner?
They drafted a guy last year.
He's so good.
Is that
Mike
the
doesn't
dude?
even know his
That's
name.
the dude from Maryland,
No,
right?
You picked that too.
Deontay Banks is his name.
Yeah, Deontay. He from Maryland.
Yeah.
He actually
Correct.
he's a good player.
I mean, he could be Deontay Johnson for all you know.
No, it's
know
Deontay Banks.
what.
I know who.
All right, Mike, what do we got
We're going
next?
to talk a little Cavs here,
Yeah.
but after a quick word from FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tournament, which tips off, by the way, in 13 minutes, whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed. It's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook, and right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads and money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and bet on college hoops until they cut the nets down. If you haven't entered the UCSS Bracket Challenge, we have posted that link in the chat. It is pinned to the top of the chat.
Probably got to do it right now, right?
You got 13 minutes to fill it out.
13 minutes?
13 minutes.
By the way, I'll be on live in the bullpen, 2 p.m. Join me on YouTube live at 2 p.m. we'll, the games will be going on, so we'll keep you up to date on that, and we'll talk more about Brown stuff as well, too.
So last night, the Miami Heat came
Yeah.
into Cleveland. Terry Rozier, the Cleveland kid, hit a couple tough shots down the stretch to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. The offensive execution down the stretch left a lot to be desired. But something I want to focus on today.
Wait, don't we have to talk about Tyvus's Terry Rozier situation?
Oh my gosh!
What's your Terry Rozier
What happened,
situation?
man? Oh,
He ruined his
damn.
parlay.
Man,
He had the under on his points.
So listen, I put together a 12-leg parlay last night, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm watching because I need Karis LeVert to get over 15 points.
Okay.
He had, at the time, he had 12. And I'm like, oh, I need him to get 2 more buckets. So he ended up getting 14. And Terry had, I took the under. His was 17.5. Terry had 15 points. So I'm like, oh, man. Karis ended up getting 16. I said, oh, yeah, we in there. And I just so happened to look back. Terry hit a trade, went over. Then he hit another trade to make sure. Like,
Make sure you ain't getting no money.
Even if they adjusted something, just to make sure that it wasn't going to be
He
corrected.
said-
Then he hit another
He
trade. I
said-
said, this man, like, you know what? It's my fault.
Never bet against the Cleveland kid in
Terry
Cleveland.
from Shaker Heights, he from Cleveland. He probably was. I should have known when I put the bet in. I should have known that if you go against your team, your childhood team, you're going to go off, and that's my fault. So Terry, I'm mad at you, but I can't be mad at you because I understand why you did what you did.
This is what I've learned. Them heights, the Shaker Heights, the Bedford Heights, the Cleveland Heights, the
Lord.
Warrensville Heights.
$5,000, Earl. $10 would have got me $5
He was like, oh, that
Blew
dude,
it.
he said, that dude from Bedford Heights bet the under on me. He said, bet.
No.
It's like he heard me. It's like he heard what I was saying.
Red Raiders, baby.
I'm sitting there like,
He was
it
pissed.
couldn't have been Jimmy Butler or nobody else. It had to be him.
It was him.
Jimmy had 32, so it
Yeah.
wasn't like Jimmy.
Well, he should have got more.
The question I wanted to ask today, though, guys, and we can break down the game. It's tough to evaluate a game with the Cavs when everyone's out. Once again, the lack of execution down the stretch definitely left a lot to be desired. But Jarrett Allen played a phenomenal game. Another 2020 performance, his 5th in his Cleveland Cavalier career. And after last postseason, and even after last regular season, if I had asked you, did you ever see Jarrett Allen developing into the caliber of player he has become today, what would your answer have been?
Guys, I never thought he'd be this good, as well as he's played this year. I know yesterday, a lot of guys are out, but I remember when he made the All-Star game a few years ago, I was like, I thought that was the best. I thought he was a good player, nice player, and that was his ceiling. I didn't think, we talk about upside from Darius, we talk about upside from Mobley. Donovan Mitchell's already a superstar, but I thought Jarrett Allen just was what he was. But I really feel like this year, because I guess it's because he's been in the league for so long. I always think he's older than he is, but he's really only 25?
25.
He only
It's
25
crazy, right?
years
It feels
old?
like he should be 30. But he's still really young.
Thought he was at least 20.
And while he's got some flaws as a player, as most players do, I think he has clearly taken his game up another level this year. I didn't expect it, but it's been a pleasant surprise. He's great. He's been great.
2 years ago, when he had the All-Star season,
Yeah.
I said that he was probably the second best center in the East behind Embiid. So that's high praise.
It
but,
is.
But the difference between him and Embiid was significantly different, and it
Sure.
still is to this
Yes.
day.
Yes.
Let me put that out. It still is.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect him to be this 2020 guy. Like I figured he'd get doubles a lot, but 2020 I didn't expect to see, and he has gotten better offensively. Now he don't have a jump shot, but the way he finishes at the rim and the little hook he got, the little float jumper that he got, it goes in a lot. So, and on top of that, he's really good defensively. I think that him not having Mobley really has flourished his offensive game. And it's really showed that he's better without another big man on the floor. I think when Mobley's in there, he's not offensively he's not as effective, but defensively he is because everybody funnels everything to him. When Mobley's not in there, he's got more room to work, and now he can hit him with the little jump hook or get him moved, get to the cup, and finish at the rim. So, he's definitely gotten much better than what I thought.
Yeah.
But everybody gonna say the same thing. You know, we need to see if the lights is bright in next month.
I thought when he was in Brooklyn, you could see the potential. And you, like me, you play 2K a lot, and I know comparing a video game to real life. Just hear me out. But when you play 2K a lot, right, and you look at all this stuff, I think his potential was like a B-, B+, or an A or something like that, right? Yeah. And so, like, those little things always go off in my head. I can't speak for everybody else. But to see Jarrett Allen take a massive step forward from the end of the playoffs against the New York Knicks to where he has now showed me that he really cared about how the Cavaliers exited. He really cared about his performance, and he wanted to be better than what he was last year. He clearly put the work in the offseason. You can always tell that he had double-double potential. I think the thing that's very impressive to me is the consistency of Jarrett Allen this year. Yeah. I've seen Jarrett Allen have a 20-20 game and then turn around and have a 7-5 game, right? But to see him do what he's doing on a more consistent basis, it tells me everything I need to know about his mentality, his work ethic, and just the want to be better than what he was before. This is a dude who's, like, as you said, in the absence of Evan Mobley, has really taken advantage of the opportunities given to him to showcase just how good he can be, right? And the fact that he seized the moment and hasn't wasted it, you can't do anything but tip your cap to that dude.
You know what's funny, Mike, is the three of us just spent the last 5 minutes talking about agreeing that Jarrett Allen has taken his game to another level. If you look at the stats, I just brought it up now, for this year compared to 2 years ago, his stats are basically exactly the same.
Yeah, almost to a T.
And that stunned
exactly
me. The only significant difference is the one aspect of the game we didn't even talk about, and that's his assists. 2 years ago, he averaged 1.6. This year, he's averaging 2.6.
Which, by the way, his playmaking ability off the pick and roll is something that I didn't know he was capable of, and he's not just good at it. He's very, very, very good at it. And making those secondary reads allows the Cavs to run action on one side of the court, have some sort of backside action going, and run it through Jarrett Allen, which, not a knock on Mobley yet, but that's one of the differences when they play with one big. Allen is proficient at that. Mobley isn't that quick of a decision maker yet.
But it's funny because 2 years ago, Jarrett Allen averaged 16.1 points and 10.8 rebounds. This year, he's averaging 16.3 points and 10.8 rebounds. It feels like he's much better than he was 2 years ago. And yet in fact, his field goal percentage is down.
Really?
Yes. He shot in the All-Star season 2 years ago, he shot 68% from the field. This year he's at 63%. He's shooting more. He averaged 9.7 field goal attempts per game that year. This year, 10.5. His free throw percentage is up a little bit. He was 71% that year and 74% now. But his numbers across block shots, 1.3, 1.2. Steals, 0.8, 0.7. Turnovers, 1.7, 1.7. Everything's the same except for the assist, which is weird. So maybe we just underrated him 2 years ago.
No, I told you. I mean, how much more praise can you get? I said he was the second best center. Because you ain't better than Embiid, and that's just the cold, hard facts. I mean, I think he went up against Embiid, and it wasn't good.
No. So. Is there anybody else? Who are the other good?
I mean, Bam Adebayo is a better center than Jarrett Allen.
I don't think so?
I don't agree. You think that right now?
I'm not a big Bam fan.
Bam's better than Jarrett Allen.
I'm not a big Bam fan.
I ain't no basketball expert, but I'm going to disagree with that, Mike. That's just me. I'm going to disagree with that.
I mean, I like that Bam got he got a little playmaking in him. He can bring the ball up the court and all of that. He got a nice little decent handle, but
Bam is averaging 20 points a game.
I just don't like him.
10.6 rebounds, so slightly less than Jarrett. More assists, 4. More blocks, 1. More steals, 1. He's shooting 52%.
Yeah, but they use him very differently than
he
Jarrett
shoots
Allen.
way more.
Yeah.
He takes 15 shots a game.
He's also a 4-time all-defensive team selection.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know enough. But Mike answered that like I answer baseball questions when people try to question me on baseball.
Bam, listen.
You answered that as if we don't know what the hell we're talking about, and you do, so shut up.
He was like, Bam's better. That's it.
I mean,
I mean, there are no statistics.
He said,
Jarrett Allen's got a slightly better field goal percentage. and as averaging slightly more rebounds, but an insignificant difference.
But Mike, isn't Bam like the number 2 option on his team? Like I think.
Yeah, he's behind Butler for sure.
Like here in Cleveland, I mean, he's been a de facto number 2 option due to injury.
Yeah.
But in a perfect world, he's probably scoring option number 4. You see what I'm saying? So.
Yeah,
well, they don't run any play. Do they run plays for Bam?
Yeah, he runs their offense.
Right. So they don't run plays for Jarrett Allen.
Yeah,
or not.
But he's a point center. Like he's de facto like
right. I mean,
two
he's
very
center
different
averaging
games.
4 assists a game.
Yeah,
That's
like very,
crazy.
very, very different games.
Crazy.
Bam can do a lot more than Jarrett Allen.
Yeah.
I guess my point.
Does he shoot threes?
He made a game-winning 3 the other day. Not really. It's not his game.
Not really.
But I guess if you leave him wide open, he can make them. But that's not what he's looking to do.
All right, Mike. Let's get to this next conversation.
Yeah, we do. We do have to get to this next topic. Just a quick reminder: 216 today with Earl the Pearl. Catch the Ultimate Brown Show every Monday, Friday. Ultimate Cav Show every Tuesday. The Ultimate Guardian Show starts Monday with you and Zach Mizell.
Meisel.
Wait, is it now I'm in my head. Is it Mizell or Meisel?
Meisel.
Well, he said it wrong the other day, and now I
did say it wrong out of the blue. I don't know why I did that. 3 p.m. on Monday.
3 p.m. on Monday. Make sure you tune into that. And also, if you want to subscribe to the UCSS newsletter, you can text newsletter at the number on the bottom of your screen here in 1 sec, and you will be signed up to get a newsletter from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show once a week. So text that number, 216-435-1590. Okay, Bull. This happened yesterday, and it kind of blew up across the internet. But it started on Tuesday with comments from Tyrese Halliburton. He was asked about his mental health struggles the last couple months, and his answer involved, and we'll play the answer for you in a sec, he says he feels more like a prop than a person because of how much sports gambling has infiltrated the daily society. So here's what Tyrese Halliburton had to say. Then I'll tell you what JB Bickerstaff said in response to that yesterday. Then I'll ask you guys a question. But here's Tyrese Halliburton from Tuesday.
You spoke to like a sports college with the Pacers, and if so, like, what was that process like? Because as an athlete, you're super confident all the time, right? But there are moments where you might need to like just hear somebody's perspective on something that if you're going through, that's unique.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've done that for kind of the last couple of years. It's been good for me, even when I'm not. I don't want to just talk to him when I'm struggling. Like I think there has to be a conversation at other times too, because I think obviously what happens on the court is what happens on the court, but just life in general, it's important. I think for us as basketball players, as men, to get those things out, because not everybody cares to hear how we feel, or that's just the point blank period. I mean, to half the world, I'm just helping them make money on DraftKings or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm a prop. You know what I mean? Like that's what my social media mostly consists of. I think it's important for us to like have somebody to talk to, and like I think all that stuff is like it can be funny sometimes. If somebody's like, I lost $1,000. I don't give a. You know what I mean? But, I do think that it's important for us to just have conversations with people who really value who we are as human beings, and it's not just sports psychology, but it's our teammates, it's our loved ones, it's people who really look out for our well-being, and that's important for me to just have those constant conversations.
Have you spoken?
So that was Tyrese Halliburton on Tuesday. Before the game against Miami last night, JB Bickerstaff, the Cavs head coach, was asked if he's had those similar conversations with any players in his locker room. And he says they haven't had any specific conversations one-on-one. He's mentioned that over the last 2 years, angry sports bettors have gotten his phone number and actually called his house and threatened him and his family over lost bets and ruined parlays. He said it's crossed the line for sure. The NBA was able to track down the people who had called him, and they have appropriately handled the situation. But he was receiving phone calls threatening him and his family over lost bets. Earl, you brought up a situation this morning about someone in Louisiana who FanDuel took money out of their account to pay his child support. So my question to you guys.
Well, what does that have to do with anything?
Oh, Earl, you can explain that real quick.
No, so like, I mean, it don't tie directly to it, but I seen it on Twitter, and I made a joke of it, but I was serious at the same time. Like, you out here sports gambling, and you not even taking care of your kids. Like, you putting money on parlays, but you can't even pay your child support. And the fact that you kept your winnings sitting there in your FanDuel deposit, good for you for doing that, because now your kids can get money that they need to for real things. Like, how you out here hitting parlays and you ain't taking care of your kids? That's insane.
So
That's absolutely insane.
yeah, exactly. So big picture, and that was kind of off topic but
Gotcha.
related, more to Halliburton and JB. Do you guys think, and granted, I want to make sure everyone knows, we understand FanDuel is our #1 sponsor, so we are not oblivious to the obvious here. But has sports gambling crossed any type of line in the actual game itself, or do you just think this is the new world we're in and the sports leagues, players, and coaches are going to have to adapt?
I mean, sports gambling has always been a part of it. It's more promoted now and more and easier to do, but I was betting on sporting events illegally when I was 19 years old. I mean,
Don't admit to it.
I can't be arrested for that. I mean, you know.
You never admit to it.
Yeah, well, I committed some minor crimes in my early years. Nothing. No, the statute of limitations is up on all of them. I didn't commit murder or anything. So no, I listen. What happened? People calling JB Bickerstaff and threatening him because they lost the bet.
That's ridiculous.
Those people are insane.
Yeah.
I mean, they're insane. Those people are crazy. There's going to always be crazy people like that threaten people over politics or sports gambling or fantasy. It's unfortunate. You have to find a balance. You know,
Yeah.
I'm very much a supportive of gambling being legal, but I don't gamble. Now, technically, you could argue I do because I play fantasy, and we could dicker on why I have a line of delineation. But I had a gambling problem. I went to Gamblers Anonymous for a number of years. I stopped going. I think it's very good for people. But I used to, when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I played cards all the time. I played the horses all the time, and I, did some sports betting. At that time, it wasn't as easy to do because it wasn't legal. But betting on the horses,
you had to know somebody.
Yeah. So betting the horses and playing cards, I did it all the time. I had a problem, and I'll never forget the last time I gambled. Again, besides fantasy, which is a controlled situation, it was May of 2009. I had gone to Atlantic City for the day. I lost $1,000 in Atlantic City, which is a lot of money, especially at the time for me, was a lot of money. I wasn't making that much money, and I had no business losing $1,000, but I didn't care. I kept going back to the ATM machine. And then that night, a bunch of my buddies came to my house. We played poker. I lost a bad hand. I lost my freaking mind. I started screaming at my friends. I threw them all out of my house. I was like, get the F out of my house. I'm done. I stayed up all night at 3 o'clock in the morning. I emailed all my friends and said, don't ask me to play cards. Don't ask me to go to Atlantic City. Don't ask me to go to Vegas. I'm done. I'm never gambling again. And I haven't since that day, which is crazy. But it can be a problem. I happen to be someone that believes in personal responsibility, which is why just because I have a problem with gambling, I'm not going to tell other people not to gamble. I'm not going to tell other people not to drink. I don't have a problem with drinking. I don't have a problem with marijuana or whatever, any drugs. So I think those should be legal. I should be able to do it, even if somebody else has a problem. It's a balancing act, because there are downsides to gambling and drugs and alcohol and cigarettes and cigarettes, it's all downside. There's no upside to that. Yeah. But so but where would you, if we're going to ban everything that could potentially be bad for you, then we got to ban soda, then we got to ban meat, then we got to ban, where does it end? So I'm not for banning anything. And yes, there's probably more people getting into trouble with gambling and doing stupid things like this since it's become legal. But ultimately, it's part of the sport. It's unfortunate that the players and the coaches would have to put up with nonsense like this because there are stupid people out there. I rambled on long. I apologize, but go ahead.
I think that if you feel the need that you have to threaten a player or a coach, then you need to call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yes.
Because it tells you right before you make any bet, 1-800-GAMBLER. I think that, like, for me, it's all funny games. I'm only betting $5 or $10, and I'm trying to make the most out of it. So if I lose $5 or $10, who cares? But if you're at the situation where you're literally threatening somebody's life because of some money that you bet, then you have a problem. Like, that's the thing. Like, you shouldn't be betting. you should reduce the size of your bets to something that you can afford to lose. They always say you only bet what you can afford to lose. As far as it goes with athletes, I know people are listening like, well, they're athletes. They shouldn't. They should be worried about the game. And you're right, 100%. I think if you're an athlete and you're playing in professional sports right now, your mindset should be focused on winning the game or doing whatever it takes to win those games. It's not about me hitting a certain amount of points or a certain amount of rebounds or whatever the case may be. That's not on my mind. What's on my mind is what I need to do to win this game. And as far as when you go back and you check social media and people tweet you, that's just part of it. Like, you can't care about those things because they don't care about that you had to get up at 5:30 in the morning to go work out every day, or you had to sacrifice a lot of things in your life to get to the situation that you're in to even be on the court. They didn't care about that, so why would you care about their parlay or anything like that? So I think that they got to be a little bit more thick-skinned. Athletes need to be a little bit more thick-skinned and not care about those things. But it's also nice when people are – maybe they send you a winning parlay. Like, hey, I appreciate you coming through for me. Like, that's nice here. It's about getting a happy balance. I know Kevin Durant joked around and tweeted out something like – he was like, I hear all the time about how I cost somebody a parlay, but when I hit for somebody, nobody want to send me no money through Cash App or nothing like that. So, like I say, it's one of those things that it's just the world that we live in. If you're a professional athlete, it's not something that you should be worried about. And if you're a fan and you're an angry fan and you feel the need that you are so mad about a parlay that you feel you need to threaten somebody, then I think you have a problem.
And their family. I mean, how low is that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Would you advise him?
That's like me being mad. I'm going to be mad at Terry last night for getting to over 7. No. I mean, I'm glad you did it because you're from Cleveland and I'm rooting for you. But, yeah, you did cost me $5,000, but it was only $10.
If you were friends with Halliburton, would you suggest he stays off? Like, in our job, we have to be on social media to some degree. He doesn't have to be.
See, that's the thing. I don't want you to have it shouldn't become to that. Like, why should he have to not be able to do something that he want to do? Like, why? If
it's making him depressed and sad.
Oh, yeah, well then, if that's the case, yeah. But, like, if you want to get on there, just it's sad that
be able to do that.
Yeah, like if I want to get on social media and check social media, I should be able to do that and not feel any type of way about it. Plus, on top of that, you shouldn't be mad about nobody that you're never going to meet anyways. You're never going to see in the personal flesh. Now, if you know this person personally, then that's totally different.
You know what, though, Tyvis? It's easy to say when people are shitting on you on social media, it can be tough.
It is.
People love you. Nobody shits on you.
That's a lie. That's a lie. I'm sure they do. But the thing is, I don't get mad off them because I'm not going to see you. Like, if I'm going to see you, if Earl said it, that's different because I'm going to see Earl. That's different. But, like, if it's Joe Blow from Medina, like, I'm not about to see Joe Blow from Medina. I can get to you, though, because Medina's close. And
by the way, if Joe Blow...
to drop your location, I mean, we could do that, too.
If Joe Blow from Medina did see you, he wouldn't say those things.
I agree, but I would love to find out. So if Joe Blow from Medina want to drop his location, then that's a totally different story.
People really don't believe you like that. I say Tyvis is really like that.
Drop your location. I got into it with somebody on Twitter before, and I said, you know what? I'm not going, but drop your location.
You don't need that aggravation.
Conversation stop.
But I think the perception is he's a former athlete, so why should he act like that? And I tell people all the time, Tyvis is a man first, and he from Cleveland, and that's just what it is. But so like you said, he should have thick skin, right? I tell y'all all the time, I feel like a lot of people forget that these athletes, when they play in the NBA, NFL, MLB, that's their job. That's their occupation. A lot of fans forget that these men and women are human beings. They got feelings too. They got things that they go through outside of their profession on a day-to-day basis, right? And I ain't never played in the NBA, but every Thursday, when I leave here, I'm not going to be here for overtime. Y'all know this. Every Thursday, I go to therapy. Like, mental health is important. And I tell people all the time, I be feeling like the most accomplished, incomplete person walking around, right? And I know how it feels to the Darius Garland take I had, for example. Mm-hmm. People tore me apart about it. And I remember about a week after that, I was going through something with my daughter. And I just jumped on social media and I seen somebody say something crazy to me 7 days later about something I said about a tape, and they're thinking that I'm always locked into this mind of of what I do for a living, but you don't even know, man, I'm going through something real, and you talking about something that I can even care less about because I'm no longer on my job. The point that I'm making is I think a lot of fans, a lot of people assume these athletes make multi-millions of dollars, and because of that they don't go through anything, or they should just sit back and take whatever behavior that people want to dish out to them and then don't do anything about it. And I think that's crazy. So for him to say, he feel like a prop, I can understand that, and I get that, because people don't look at you as a human, a son, a brother, a father, whatever. They look at you as a guard for the Indiana Pacers, and that's all they give a damn about is you being a guard for the Indiana
fans,
Pacers.
He said 50%, acknowledging that there are a lot of fans that do treat players with respect, and fortunately, it's not all fans, But yeah, you're right, Earl, and athletes can have mental health issues just as much as anybody else.
A lot of them do. The only time I said that sports gambling has gone too far is when I seen what James Harden did last night. That man is crazy. He's tripping.
Can we show that?
Yeah, I'll show that.
Oh,
what happened?
I don't know what James Harden was doing on this play.
Yeah,
but
people are going to think he was cheating or whatever. If you're going to cheat, you're not going to do it this obvious. He tried to defend his own guy. Watch, he passes to Kawhi and then runs out to try to block the shot. He didn't get asked about it after the game?
It's objectively one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Wait a second, Mike. How did he not get asked about it after the game, or did we not?
He forgot.
If he did, I haven't seen any type of response.
How could that question not be asked?
I want to know what he was thinking. Maybe it's because they was up 21 points and he just was joking around.
No, he would.
That has to be the only way. Because he ended up getting the assist.
Don't you think he had a brain fart and forgot who his teammate was?
I think he
for
did.
a minute? Or what team he was on?
I just think he had a brain freeze.
There's no way he had no
But there are going to be people who say, oh, he was gambling on the game or whatever, which makes no sense. If you were going to cheat and tank a basketball game, you wouldn't do it like that.
That's too blatant. Man, listen, if you go back and show the video again, whoever was sitting on the bench, they had on black. I could just it's just a brain freeze. I don't know what the hell he was thinking or if he was thinking at all, man, but I'm going to err on the side of caution and just say it was a brain freeze.
James Harden is hilarious.
Well, this is insane.
Because it's a great closeout, by the way.
This is insane.
That's the most defense he's played since 2013 Finals.
Oh, my
What's funny,
God.
I missed it. You guys know Eli works for the Blazers, my friend. And he called me this morning, and I didn't get a chance to answer because we were down here doing our preview show. So I haven't had a chance to ask Eli what he thinks about that from the opposing bench.
Yeah.
Watching a guy in the Clippers uniform play defense for him. So
Yeah.
as soon as I get an answer for that, I'll let you all know.
By the way, I think Anthony every morning now at 5:30 a.m. should do a preview show.
That's a good idea.
I wake up at 7:30, so that's awkward.
We'll start waking up at 5:30 for the preview of the
5:30 every morning, the preview.
Earl, what he should do is preview what me and you are going to preview for the show
That's
coming up
right.
at 11.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? Meetings about the meetings.
G. Bush could do a pre-show at 2. He's probably up in the middle of the night anyway at 2 in the morning.
I think G and I can do a show at like 3:30 in the morning,
There you go.
previewing the preview show at 5:30.
I was actually up.
The 8:30 show that previews the 11 a.m. show.
I was up at like 2 in the morning yesterday.
I was here at 7:10 this morning.
Is that unusual?
Earl beat me in this morning.
I was here at 7:10 a.m. this morning.
I don't know what time you guys come in.
I usually get here 7:10 is way unusual, way unusual. But
Right.
yeah, I've been here for a while.
Okay. What time do you get in, Mike?
7:30.
Slacker.
Question for you guys.
Yeah.
To put a bow on this before we move on to our Guardians topic. You guys all kind of talked big picture. With the NBA implementing their new betting view on League Pass, where you can literally decide to add a topic bar essentially above the scoreboard that gives you live updated over-unders for the games, money lines, and point spreads. There's no turning back now, is there?
No, of course not.
Like, they've
and
already
the players
entered a
benefit
place of no
also
return.
because there's more money in the pot to pay players because of the gambling.
And I'll say this too, and you kind of touched on this. If you're that pissed off at a player or a coach or a team, that means that you was betting some money and trying to win some money that you thought was going to change your life. That you was banking on life changing money. And if you really sitting up here trying to turn $10 into $50 million, you fooling yourself. All you got to do is get off your ass, work hard. Hopefully, like, you get a few good breaks.
Most people aren't making $50 million.
And some luck. And, like, let that be the case. If you out here seriously gambling and you looking for that to be the reason to change your financial situation, man, you sadly mistaken.
I'm about to say, it's people that's nowadays, they quitting their jobs and taking up sports gambling as a full-time gig.
That's when you have a problem.
I agree.
If you're trying to change your life, as Earl says, by gambling, that's not going to –
I'm trying to be like Adam Sandler on Uncut Gems. Give me
Didn't he get killed at the end?
He did, but he did like a 27-leg parlay and made millions.
Yeah,
they dropped their location after that, didn't they?
Then he got killed. Didn't he steal Kevin Garnett's ring or something?
It was a good movie, though. I actually really like that movie.
He stole.
No, he didn't steal his. Did he steal his ring?
He stole his ring in there. The best Sandler movie was the one where he's a basketball coach.
Hustle.
That was great. But recently, he just had a new movie come out on Netflix called Astronaut or something like that. I watched the first 15 minutes. It was unwatchable, and I shut it off.
Adam Sandler is funny as well.
Bull, we're going to move on.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about Ohtani in overtime. But because it does kind of deal with gambling real quick.
Let's put that off. Let's put it off because I feel like I need to dive into it a little more.
Okay.
Before we really break it down, since it's overtime anyway.
Okay, I just wanted you to tell the people what's going to happen in overtime. Give them a little primer of what the situation is.
All right, let's think about it.
Okay. Well, we'll move on then. Bull's not ready for a quick teaser. You ask Bull for one thing.
I'm sorry.
He's not ready to do it. We appreciate y'all watching. If you feel like watching Bull's show on Monday, give a better effort than he just gave me right there.
Please.
Tune in 3 o'clock on Monday for the Ultimate Guardian Show. Him and Zach. It'll be the best Guardian show in town. That's a guarantee. And speaking of the Guardians, Bull, Earl, Tyvis, we had our best Guardians clip in terms of views in quite a while yesterday when we debated the Guardians' decision to send Kyle Manzardo and Chase DeLauder down to the minor leagues to start the season. So I was trying to think, okay, we can't argue about that again.
By the way, let me just comment on that for a second because on my podcast yesterday, I interviewed Jim Duquette, former big league GM. He now does a show with Mike Ferrin, who's a friend of mine on MLB radio. Check out the podcast, The Bullpen with Adam the Bull on YouTube. But he didn't have a problem with the Guardians sending those guys down, especially DeLauder. He doesn't think he's ready to play in the majors yet. And but he understands why fans are aggravated, and he does think the Guardians made a lot of mistakes this offseason in terms of how they allocated money. But he has no problem with Manzardo, and he argued that it's not necessarily about service time because of the rule changes. Because if Manzardo, and he's right in this vein that if Manzardo comes up and ends up finishing top 3 for Rookie of the Year, like the Guardians lost a year of service time for Tanner Bybee because he finished top 3 Rookie of the Year. But they also gained a draft pick, so there are advantages to the team as well. I just wanted to say that from his perspective. I thought it was an interesting point. So go ahead.
So I was trying to think of another topic for the Guardians because, as you mentioned yesterday, there's just not a ton of excitement as they get ready to open the season.
No.
What is it? 1 week away from today is official opening day?
Yes.
So I figured we go back. Let's go back in time. In your opinion, Bull, I'll start with you. We can make our way around. Who's the most underrated Indians-Guardians player of all time?
I mean, it's hard. Tyvis and I were talking about this early.
I rattled off like 15 names.
Yeah, and one of the guys you thought I was going to say was Larry Doby, and I think Larry Doby, and he's not my answer. I do think he's been undervalued in terms of breaking the color barrier because Jackie Robinson, deservedly so, is talked about a ton, but Larry Doby played shortly after Jackie Robinson and had to deal with all the same awfulness that Jackie Robinson had to deal with. And I say this, that he should have been nationally recognized more, not taking anything away from Jackie Robinson. Shouldn't be any less for Jackie. It should have just been additionally more for Larry Doby. But my answer is a weird one because he wasn't really underrated for much of the time he was here. But my answer is Corey Kluber, and here's why. Because Corey Kluber is for a time, was one of the best pitchers the Indians at the time have ever had. He had a stretch of seasons that are one of the best 5-year stretches in the history of the franchise. And in the playoffs in 2016, when the Guardians or the Indians went to the World Series, everybody remembers Andrew Miller that year because he was magnificent and dominated for most of the playoffs. But in Game 7 of the World Series, Andrew Miller struggled. But nobody really criticizes Andrew Miller for that, which they shouldn't, because he was overworked, and even Terry Francona says that. But Corey Kluber, it's like revisionist history. People look back and kind of shit on Corey Kluber because he pitched terribly in Game 7 of the World Series. But he was so overworked. Remember, Trevor Bauer had the accident where he busted up his finger and couldn't pitch in the playoffs. Carlos Carrasco was hurt that year. The Indians, their number 2 starter in the playoffs was Josh Tomlin. I mean, I don't know if fans remember that. Josh Tomlin was not a good pitcher. So Corey Kluber.
Never heard of him.
I remember Josh Tomlin. He was not that good.
He was not very good.
Never heard of him.
Corey Kluber was asked to do an insane amount, way more than Andrew Miller, to carry the Cleveland Indians. Without Corey Kluber, the Indians do not sniff the World Series that year. They probably don't get out of the first round. He was so lights out. And I remember Game 1 of the World Series, when Corey Kluber pitched against the Cubs in Progressive Field, and I was at this game, and I never sat down the whole time. I wandered around the stadium the whole game. And I remember at the end of the first inning, because the Cubs got a little rally going with a couple little, I think, dinks and dunks, and had a chance to score in the first inning. Kluber got out of it. And I remember saying to myself, oh, that's it. That's it. They're not going to score against him. And then he was lights out again in game 4 when he gave the Indians a 3-1 lead. By the time he had pitched in Game 7, he had been going on 3 days rest for the 3rd time. He was shot. It was miraculous. He was able to lift his arm. And by the way, his career pretty much went down the tube soon after that. And when I spoke to Francona a few weeks ago, and I told him that fans were critical of Corey Kluber, like he couldn't believe it. I guess he didn't realize that. Corey Kluber was the toughest SOB that I've ever seen pitch for this team. And, he and Sabathia, I'd say. And the fact that he's discredited after that is a disgrace. And so he went from being fairly rated for much of his career to being now underrated big time when we look back. But that guy was an absolute superstar, and for a few years was the best pitcher in baseball. So Corey Kluber's my guy.
Man, I'm still pissed about that blown 3-1 lead. That still hurt. So for me,
because we was literally we just had the Cavs and the Guardians or Indians was about to do it.
They was about to do it.
I was at Games 4 and 5 at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, shout out to Holly for getting you tickets.
That's right. You knew that.
I remember.
You did. Got me face value tickets.
I remember at that
Why
time.
did she? How?
She had a hookup. I don't know.
I remember at that time, I think Danny Salazar was dealing with an injury.
He was hurt too. Yeah, well, he was always hurt.
He was always hurt, but it was just like, man, throw something at him. So this was tough for me, man. I'm not the biggest baseball dude, but when I thought about the question more and more.
You said Rajai Davis.
No, I said Omar Vizquel.
And
I'm going to tell you why I said Omar. I grew up a fan of those teams in the 90s. And I remember I used to be able to list off, the whole starting lineup. And we often talk about the power hitters, the dudes who always to hit a bunch of home runs. But Omar was great defensively. He was great in small ball. He could turn a single, infield single, and get down the line. He was always a dude that was still in the base in the crucial moments. And so it was the little things that he did that always had huge payoff and made the biggest difference that always made me like Omar. But like when you talk about greatest Guardians or Indians players, or especially the players at that time, we talk about the home run hitters. We talk about Manny. We talk about Jim Thome and Carlos Baerga and Albert Bell and all those dudes. But Omar played a significant role in the Indians having success during those times.
Well, for that reason, I was going to say Rajai Davis.
I think it's a good choice.
That's a great choice.
Good choice.
But it's only one real answer to this question. It's Mike Zunino.
Mike Zunino.
Mike Zunino.
Oh, my God, Tyvus.
Why was Mike Zunino underrated, Tyvus?
Mike Zunino was underrated because he chose to come to the Guardians. And, yes, he got paid. But for those what, 8 games? How many games did he play
a little
for
more
us?
than that.
Like 43.
Those 43 games, the catcher position, he was gunning stuff down.
No.
He was a decent hitter.
No. He was horrible.
No, my friend of the show, actually, he's watching and he chimed in on this.
Yeah.
And he makes a good point. He says it's Carlos Carrasco because he had Tommy John surgery in 2012 and was one of the best starters and led the AL in wins in 2017.
I just felt like the fans loved him. I think
do people put him as like I feel like they don't say he's like the greatest pitcher we ever had or anything.
Well, but he wasn't. He was never the best pitcher on the team, but I do think he was underrated nationally.
Exactly.
Nationally, he was a little underrated. He was never given the credit that.
I mean, to come back from Tommy John surgery, I mean, back then, like, when you had that, it was, like, over with.
No.
It was.
2012? What are you talking about?
It was over with. No. I mean, the medicine got better.
He could have came back. Bob Feller would have never came back from Tommy John surgery.
I guess you got a point there.
Yep. No,
that's
true.
Cookie back now, so we go, But it's still Mike Zunino and Austin Hedges. Well, excuse me. World Series champion, Austin Hedges.
That's true. What's a more fraudulent statement? World Series champion Austin Hedges or Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley?
Or winning starting quarterback
PJ Walker?
Well, first of all, well, Phillips not even in this. I don't even know why you put him in this category.
Hey, it's absurd just like everything else.
That's true.
That's actually a good question.
Yeah.
World Series champion Austin Hedges or the Pro Bowl.
It has to be more absurd for Tyler Huntley because he threw.
The Huntley's the worst one.
Because
even though he was like the 12th choice, he still shouldn't have been picked.
Was Austin Hedges starting catcher?
No, but he played one game.
It's a participation trophy for him.
But he played 1 out of 7 games.
He did play in 1 game.
Yes.
Did he have a hit?
That's a participation trophy.
Probably not.
Well, Tyler Huntley making the Pro Bowl.
He actually played, though.
He threw 2 touchdowns.
But he was terrible. He didn't do anything.
What, he like the 6th or 7th alternate, though, for the Pro Bowl?
He should have been the 50th alternate.
He had 2 touchdowns. Listen, if they were going to pick a
Put it
quarterback.
in Poland.
Wait, I'm just saying, though, he got to the Pro Bowl like 40% of the quarterbacks that was invited couldn't go.
Oh, we had the debate on the show when it happened. Jacoby Brissett's numbers were significantly better than Tyler Huntley.
Forget Jacoby Brissett. There had to be other guys better than both.
Well, I'm just saying, like, they picked Huntley over someone like Brissett.
I know, but
what was Tyler Huntley's What was his record that year?
Are you kidding me right now?
Tyler Huntley probably went like 5-1.
No chance.
He threw 2 touchdowns. So if he went 5-1 and threw 2 touchdowns, and that's another.
Then that would be
Phillip did it.
That would be a Phillip
Tyvis,
5
he went
wins.
his Pro Bowl. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
In his Pro Bowl season, he played in 6 games, started 4, 2-2 record, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks.
Yeah. So Phillip is better.
They should have been the.
Bull, it gets better. You ready?
Yeah.
He averaged 109 passing yards per game.
That was the weird. I'd like to actually know. I wonder if every other quarterback said no, like secretly. They went down the list, including Jacoby Brissett, and like 25 guys said no. And Tyler Huntley's like, all right, what the hell?
I'll do this.
Trip to Hawaii. Or free
Sure.
He should have been the last choice of any quarterback that played that year.
Hey, man, how can you even celebrate that? Like, how you tell? Yeah, I made the Pro Bowl.
Oh, Nick Carnes had a tweet up about the Pro Bowl quarterback.
Fact.
The Browns have 3 Pro Bowl quarterbacks in their quarterback room.
How many times did Jameis make the Pro Bowl? Once?
Once.
What was it, the 30-30 year?
No, was it?
I'll tell you one sec.
The Pro Bowl's a joke now. I mean, it shouldn't even count. Only the starters should be named.
I told
Pro
you, it should be whoever makes
Original
it. Any alternate don't even get
Don't
the title.
count.
No,
You don't get the
Jameis
title.
made the Pro Bowl his rookie season, believe it or not. His rookie season, he threw for 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. He was the 3rd alternate, but made it as a Pro Bowl.
Jameis threw
he's not a legit Pro Bowler either because he was an alternate.
Jameis threw for. Oh yeah, Deshaun got to come.
I thought you were about to say something.
D.Y. got to come 45 next year. Jameis threw for 42 as a rookie.
4,042.
And that was in 16 games.
16 games. He attempted 535 passes that season.
That's ridiculous.
He's always throwing a boatload of passes.
It was a deep air raid offense. Yeah.
All right.
Crazy. All right. That'll wrap us up.
I am excited about personally. I know there's not a ton of buzz for baseball right now, especially in Cleveland, but I enjoyed watching the two Padres-Dodgers games.
15-11.
15-11. It was a fun game this morning. Mookie Betts, man. How did the Boston Red Sox? You're a big market team. It's not like it was the Guardians.
Yeah.
How did the Boston Red Sox let Mookie Betts get away?
And how is he a shortstop?
Oh, they
now?
traded him. Sorry, but
They traded him. Yeah.
Why?
He plays every position.
He's a damn shortstop. He started at
He
shortstop.
played outfield his whole career. Last year they moved him to second base because of a need. You know what? You know why he's playing shortstop now, right?
No, explain.
So he was going to play second. So last year they moved him to second base because they didn't have a second baseman. So this year he was going to play mostly second base again. Their shortstop is a kid named Gavin Lux. Been a good prospect for a number of years. He was supposed to be their starting shortstop last year. He had a really bad injury. I don't remember what it was. And he missed all of last season. So when spring training started, Lux was going to play shortstop and Mookie was going to play second. Well, Lux was getting like the yips at shortstop where he was making all these terrible throws. And they're like, well, I guess we'll move him to second so the throw's not as hard. Yeah, Mookie just play short. Like,
is that seriously how he got to
that's
shortstop?
basically what he didn't start playing short until like a week ago.
No, he has 2 starts this season.
It's
Both shortstop.
absurd.
He never played shortstop in his.
Do you know how hard that is to do?
the second
Shortstop
hardest
is the hardest
defensive
position in
position.
base. Well,
Third
or
base.
catcher. No.
Third base.
No, because third base is tough because the ball gets on you quick.
Yeah.
But you don't need great range to play third base.
Shortstop and center.
Shortstop, you gotta.
You do got to have some range at shortstop.
At shortstop, you got to have crazy range. You got to be a fantastic athlete. And Mookie Betts, who's never really, I mean, maybe he's played it in his career. I don't think, if he has, not a lot. Like, he is just the freak of freaks.
He play everything.
I love him.
He
He's
literally
one of my
can
favorite
play any
players.
position.
And the fact that he, Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman, 3 of the 10 best players in baseball,
All on the same team.
are batting back to back to back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
2, 3, 4 in that lineup.
That's ridiculous.
I can't find
That's
anything
That's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's crazy.
Has he never played shortstop again?
I can't. There's nothing. He's outfield is his listed position in every minor league season. So if he played for a random game, maybe.
2,
but
3, or 4. Oh, my God.
Another interesting tidbit, who probably only I and 3 other people out there care about, but when the White Sox play their season opening game on Thursday, they're going to start a pitcher named Garrett Crochet, who pitched out of the bullpen for them last year. But he's making his first major league start on opening day. I think he's only like the 10th pitcher ever to make his first major league start on opening day. Very rare.
interesting.
The White Sox suck.
Yeah.
White Sox, A's, Nationals, and Rockies are the 4 worst teams.
I'm starting to feel like because
Did the A's go to Vegas?
Not yet.
not
Not
yet.
yet.
I'm starting to feel like because we're so down on the Guardians
That's because of last year.
that
Yeah.
they're gonna have a good year. It just seems like every time we have expectations, they don't have a good year.
Well,
if we
I
have
said-
0, they have a good year.
I told him, I said they're going to go top 5 in home runs this year.
No chance.
See, he said,
I told him,
Now,
what did I say?
they're both right that they could have a surprise good year.
Yeah.
I don't think that's crazy. There's no chance they're going to be top 5 in home runs.
I did tell Bull.
The Rays,
Zero
the
chance.
Rays just did it.
My boy Bo Naylor, though, he hitting 25.
I doubt it. It's hard for a catcher to hit that many home runs. It's really hard. But but to your point, it's funny because the Athletic does this thing every year. They call it the I can't remember. It's like the fan support meter. Basically, they ask for fans of every team to say, and they ask them, "Are you optimistic or are you pessimistic about the season?"
Mm-hmm.
And in 2021, Guardians fans on this poll were extremely pessimistic. No, wait, I'm sorry, 2022. Were extremely pessimistic, like 70% pessimistic.
Okay.
And the Guardians had a really good season in 2022, made the playoffs, won a series. Last year, Guardians fans were like 80% positive.
Yes.
Me?
And then, of course, the team went downhill. Well, I just saw the new one got released for this year, and it was like 70% pessimistic again.
Division champs coming soon.
It's not impossible. The
Well, the
Guardians,
division's not that great.
Hey, don't do that. It wasn't that great last year and we ain't winning.
That's true.
do we have the FanDuel over-unders?
Miggy,
For the win
Miggy
totals?
is off the books for Detroit.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Oh.
let's go
I
open
can pull
them
them up.
up.
Yeah, pull up the win totals for the 5 teams in the AL.
I know
AL
every
Central.
game that me, Mike, and Ant went to last year,
Yeah.
they lost.
Okay, well,
They
you
lost.
guys as a
They
trio
didn't just
were
lose.
bad.
They got destroyed every game.
Like, I'm a huge Ronald Acuna fan, right?
Yeah.
So when Atlanta came in, man, I had to go see my boy.
Yeah.
Got our ass whooped. Like,
Are you ready? I got him.
mean,
Yes.
the
give us-
Braves
by the way,
was
real
really
quick,
good.
you mentioned Ronald Acuna. He had the best fantasy baseball season in the history of baseball.
he got the top overall in MLB The Show that's coming out soon.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the best player in baseball, although he's banged up to start the season. Go ahead, Mike.
Him and Otani. Okay, the Twins, 87.5.
Twins 87.5. All right, I'm leading under on that. Go ahead.
Royals, 73.5.
I think they're going to be over that.
Tigers, 80.5.
Jason's much higher on the Tigers than I am.
Mickey off the books.
Yeah. They're going to be right around that number. I'll say over by a tiny bit.
Guardians, 79.5.
So they're eight. Vegas has them, what, 8 games back of the Twins?
8 games back, correct.
I think the Guardians are going to be right around there. I think they're going to be a 500 team. But they got a chance to be better.
And the White Sox, 60.5.
60.5? They'll lose more than that. They're going to lose 100 games.
The one thing I did, I've been going back listening to some of Stephen Vogt's interviews.
Yeah.
I'm not a diehard fan, but once we get close, I get interested even more. And one of the things he talked about was having the hitters be more aggressive, taking more swings early on in the count, and things like that. And to me, I'm so used to Tito and the small ball approach and the old school way of doing things. I am partially excited just to see what we're going to look like under new leadership.
Yeah, I'm excited about that, too.
Top 5 in home runs. That's what it's going to look like.
It's been a while since we had a different skipper in here. So we'll see how I said skipper.
No, that's all right.
I'm showing my age.
There you go.
Skipper.
Skipper's good.
The yips.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right, so I just found something yesterday. We'll finish with Super Chats in a sec. But I found something that made me laugh on Twitter yesterday, and it ends a chapter, officially ends a chapter in Cleveland Browns Twitter history. So I'm going to show you 3 tweets.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is going to look like a blank tweet, but it was a link to a paywall. So it's going to look blank because tag board, but it's a link. So you can take the first one. Brad Stainbrook tweeted a link to his 247 account, which is behind a paywall, so you have to click on it to read.
Okay, why are we showing this?
Yeah.
Because it leads to a 3-part step. So this was then quote tweeted, and once again, because you can't read it, or because if you're not a subscriber, you couldn't read it. A guy named Corey on Twitter then quote tweeted it and said, "Anthony Schwartz back with the Browns on a 1-year deal with 3 fire emojis."
What?
Corey just trolls on Twitter. He's actually really funny. It's a good follow if you want to laugh. All his stuff.
Oh, I
is
saw
satirical.
this.
All his stuff is satirical. So he quote tweeted Brad Stainbrook's article with this, and once again, the article was just a link. It gave you no information.
But he's messing with people.
He was messing with people saying that he had signed. Anthony Schwartz either name searched himself, someone sent it to him, and quote tweeted Corey's tweet with this: "It's over. It's time to move on."
Poor Anthony Schwartz. Let the guy be already.
Yeah. But that's part of what
we
the
beat him
conversation.
up enough, right?
That's part of the conversation we was talking about earlier. Sometimes, man, we don't even mean no harm, and we just trying to have some fun and good faith. But like clearly, stuff like that.
I say let him be, but I'd still make it crack.
First of all, Anthony Schwartz got a problem with him if he's searching his own name in Twitter.
Yeah, that's a little strange.
Because if they tagged him in it, that's totally different. But to search
if he searched it himself,
like that's you. You got the problem from.
You've never done it?
No.
I have to admit, I have done it. Not in a long time, but I have.
Ever since I met Jason, and Jason told me to take the
mentions off.
Yeah, I don't see nothing. The only time I see something is if somebody I'm following tweets it to me or ats me. It does make life.
I've done that too. Jason gave me the same advice. He was like, "Man, you got to stop responding to everybody." But I like fan interaction.
Well, yeah,
I like talking
most
to
of the
people.
fans that reach out to us say nice things or ask questions. And you want to interact with those people.
This is my thing. People be like, "Man, you showing your emotions if you respond to something that somebody negative say to you." But nobody says that when I respond to something positive. I respond to both. Right. That's my thing.
What I've started doing is, even if it pisses me off, which still does once in a while, if somebody says something nasty, I pretty much don't respond to the nasty tweets anymore. But if anybody asks me a question, I want to be able to answer them. Or says something nice.
I just don't want nobody thinking that I'm too full of myself, or
Well,
I'm
yeah.
beyond. Like
Right.
I didn't got to a point to where I'm too good to respond to people.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And
But I
so,
don't want nobody to think that either. But
yeah, so I do.
it's Jason Lloyd's fault.
It's a balance. Jason is dead inside, so he doesn't care about responding to the nice people.
I'm just trying to find that balance myself, man, because I do like to interact with the people. And I interact with all the positivity.
Yeah.
But if I see something negative, I'm interacting
If
with
you
that
want to
too.
interact, just get on our show and look at the comments
That's
section,
right.
and I'm sure
That's a different group of people. By the way, I saw, Barrett Sports Media posted a tweet today saying that today is the 2-year anniversary of me announcing on the air
Congrats.
that I was leaving the Fan.
Happy anniversary.
And I didn't even realize it was today. Usually I have every date, but I didn't realize it was
You don't
today.
have a spreadsheet for important days in your life? You
I do have a
for
spreadsheet.
literally everything.
In fact, I do have a spreadsheet for important dates, but I didn't write down the day that I announced it. I thought it had been earlier because I had my last day was April 1st, and I announced it on whatever today is, March 21st of 2022. I had already discussed it. My bosses and I had to come to an agreement because I was leaving my contract early. And it had been decided in January. So I had known for 2 months that I was leaving, but my bosses wouldn't let me say it on the air. I wanted to announce it earlier, but they wouldn't let me. But anyway, and then somebody responded and said, the Fan's never been the same. And I can't disagree with that.
I remember hearing the tease. In between, that's when I had a regular full-time job, and 92.3 The Fan is my part-time job, as it still is now. And I remember hearing the tease, and the first thing I said to myself is, Bull is about to leave. Didn't even know it. Fun fact, though, this is like honest to God's truth. The first day I ever met Bull was his last day at The Fan, right?
Well, because I wasn't working in the studio.
I walked, and so at that time at 92.3 The Fan, a lot of the new hires at the time, like myself, had not seen the regulars in like a year and a half, something like that.
Well, and I was the last one to come back.
So when he came back, he did a show, and I just happened to be working Chico at the Dark at the time. I walked in the studio, and Bull shook my hand. What I found out was Bull don't shake hands with people. And so people made a big deal that he shook my hand.
I'm a little bit of a germphobe, so I'd like to do the fist bump.
But you shook his hand.
Yeah, and come to find out,
I've never met him before. I guess I didn't want.
Come to find out, when I interviewed for the job,
Yeah.
Steve Becker told me Adam the Bull was one of the people who vouched for you, and I told him I met Bull at that time it was twice in person.
Did you vouch for him?
I did.
Look at you.
Because 2 people I trusted, G. Bush and Jonathan Peterlin, both spoke highly of him. I didn't know Earl
Well, I knew Earl from G. Bush.
Yeah. Well, but G had spoke highly of you, and then I remember calling Jonathan Peterlin and asking him about you, and he spoke very highly of you. So I called Steve and I said, hey, I'm hearing great things about Earl.
If you asked about me and they told you I was a piece of crap,
I'd fucking kill him. Don't mess with my guy.
And I got the alibi for Bull. Bull was with me.
Cursed in your honor there, Tyler.
Bull was with me the whole time.
The curse it threw me off.
2 super chats real quick.
Yeah, super chat.
Yeah, like that.
First one, they both come from Broady's Bottom Line.
Yeah.
Earl, the first one's directed at you.
Ooh.
Brody says Mel Scott is the best player from Collinwood.
Do you know Mel Scott?
Not offhand. We can talk about it later on the Ultimate
Big
216 show.
controversy right there. We got to look up Mel Scott.
I'm about to say it. I want to know.
Well,
that.
I look up Mel Scott, and I'll get you whoever Mel Scott is.
Yeah.
Brody also wants to know Tyvis and Bull. Would you trade Ford to move up in the draft?
Would I trade Ford for what?
Jerome Ford to move up in the draft.
I would have to know. I mean,
I don't
in
think
theory, sure.
Yeah, but I don't know what you get there. I don't think his return is that.
Jerome Ford is not getting you up in the draft too much. He ain't taking you from the late second round to early second round.
Wasn't Jerome Ford a 4th round picker?
5th, I think. Yeah.
I think right now, if you traded Jerome straight up right now, you probably get at best a 4th round pick because he's a running back.
I mean, I don't even know if you get that.
You don't think?
I mean, he's cheap
at best, but he's coming off of a productive year.
Right.
He could be a number 1.
I think you could because of.
You get a 4 for that.
I think you could because of the draft class.
Right, but
that's why.
But nobody is dropping down from the first round or the early
The
second
heck,
round.
you almost
him.
made me cuss.
So yes,
Heck no.
in theory, we trade him if you'd help you get a better player in the draft.
But I'm not. I wouldn't trade him for.
I'm not trading for a fourth-round pick. What would be the point?
Yeah.
No.
All right, so Mel Scott was a Collinwood basketball player in the 90s.
Oh, he played for Coach Vanna. So Collinwood did have a stretch to where, man, I probably dropped the ball with the Cecil thing because Collinwood did have a stretch in the 90s to where the basketball team was one of the best. Shout out to Coach Vanna, man. Coach Vanna was one of my favorite people ever, like in life. Very, very good man, cared about you as a person. And then Collinwood's girls track team won like 5 straight state championships. And Sabrina Parr.
Basketball and girls track?
No. I'm just going to the track. Sabrina Parr is known as one of the best athletes to ever come out of Collinwood. She had a scholarship to USC. Yeah. Joy Smith, God rest her soul, she ran track at Michigan. She was a beast. So it's been a few.
Why she choose to go there?
I don't know, man. But she was a bright spot, man. And I just wish she would have had more life because she had a whole lot to give to this world. Like, she was one of the few girls that lost their life early to like some type of rare form of cancer. It was like 2 or 3 girls that had ran track at Collinwood around that time. So Collinwood definitely has had their share of athletes. Louis Moore was another one that was pretty good. Swanee Cooper was pretty good. So
all Bedford got is Halle Berry.
And they got you.
And Lee Evans and Chris Chambers.
I mean, if you have Halle Berry, do you need anything else?
Got a point there. You got a point there.
All right, we'll see you all on overtime. Or Earl, you're not staying for overtime.
Nah.
Well, you'll see Tyvis and I on overtime, and then we'll see you tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Peace.
See ya. The weather was bizarre.